What's up?
Oh, we both got a little cleaned up for the show tonight, didn't we?
Just a little bit.
All right, good. You know, I have the Mavericks game on. It started at 9. They've only played 6 minutes of the first quarter. Why do you think? How is that possible? How could they only have played 6 minutes in 1 hour? What do you think happened?
An injury or like something? I don't know.
An injury, but not to a player.
The rim?
The rim. One of the rims is misaligned, and they've been spending the last 45 minutes.
Oh my goodness!
Usually, I get to watch like the whole first half before we go live.
Right? Did someone like pull on it or something?
I don't know how it happened. Nobody knows how it happened. It's just not a good look, Mark Cuban. All right.
He's too focused on those damn NFTs.
Oh, Christina's here, just a minute late. Good by her standards.
Hi, guys.
All right.
Her and I have a bone to pick with you here in about 2 minutes.
So does Christina.
I said her and I. We together.
Oh, you both do. Yeah, you both have the same bone to pick. Well, let's do it. Let's get into mail days because we have a guest in 12 minutes, or roughly. Very awesome guest that we're looking forward to a lot. Oh, here comes Christina. I wish you guys. There should be a Christina cam. So you can just. All right, do your mail day first. Apparently.
Okay, I guess I go first. So I got in the mail today from a very awesome friend, Ryan Johnson of Card Collector 2. Sent me the lucky envelopes out of 8.
Oh, okay.
Of Maxi Kleba. He got it in a collection that he bought, and he was like, I knew this belonged with you, so he shipped it over to me. So thank you, Ryan.
Okay, that's all the time that a Maxi Kleber lucky envelopes gets. All right, Josh, do you have any?
I do. This is a card mail day, but I did not purchase this. This was given to me by Michael, MK Sports Cards. One story. I posted the story to my. I made a post about it, so go read that if you want to read it. I won't get into the details and spare everybody. But this is now my only Panini Penny Hardaway card. Probably my favorite design of any Panini card. The 2013 Prism Gold. People may know I did own the LeBron at one point, and I no longer do. So now I have the penny, and Michael gave me this for free. So very, very generous by him. Read the post about it. It explains why. And, shout out to Michael one last time for sending me this. It's I don't know if I should I grade this or should I just put it in my binder? I kind of feel like I should put it in my binder.
Leave it up to the chat. I don't know. I'd grade it. I'd definitely grade it. I like everything in a slab.
Yeah, I do too. I like my Penny Hardaway binder. It's really fun.
Yeah, that was a great story. It got shared all across Instagram, so I guess most people in the chat heard it. But always nice to hear stories of kindness, benevolence, and generosity in the hobby. There's no shortage of them, which is always good. Is that it? That's the only mail day?
Yep, I did not buy a card this week. All right, come on. Hurry up.
All right, so here it is. I think this is the one that's got you guys really riled up.
No.
This is 2017 Prism Blue, Frank Ntilikina, Knicks jersey color and jersey number 11 of 199. But much to my chagrin, when this card arrived, the surface had like 4 giant greasy thumbprints on it. And I was not pleased. And then,
So how did you fix it?
Christina used you used like a eyeglass cleaner wipe, but I don't know if it's salvageable. Okay. This might be the one that's got you guys really upset, I think. Funny. I think this is the one.
This isn't funny. Just get it over with.
This is a Christian McCaffrey 2019 Absolute 1 of 1. Nothing crazy, but I just can't pass up the McCaffrey 1 of 1s. Right? Okay. So look, it is shiny too. It's shinier than it seems in pictures.
That's a nice one. I like that one.
Yeah, it's a good looking card. And then, did I have any other mail days?
Oh my God, it's literally in front of you. Stop. You're not cute.
I don't know.
Okay, you've been voted off of crossover. This is what
Crossover.
he bought, okay? This is what he bought.
Boo.
He is not allowed to be on crossover anymore. You
What do you have to say for
have
yourself?
been voted off of crossover. How dare you, sir? How
What do you have to-
dare you?
I want his reasoning. Like, wait, I have a question. Yeah, I have a question. How dare you?
I don't know. I don't remember this one coming in. No, I mean, look, it became available, and it's McCaffrey's best kaboom. It's, you know, his first green 1-of-1, so the first 1-of-1 ever made. And I don't know, I just wanted it, you know. If I'm trying to put together the ultimate McCaffrey PC, I need his best kaboom card. So I got it. I don't know. What can I
Even
say?
that sentence, you're like, this is McCaffrey's best kaboom. Like, what does that sentence even mean? If we didn't know about cards, we would just think that you're just like a really strange person. It's like, oh, it's like a cut move, you know, like a juke or something. Like, what is it? What's McCaffrey's best kaboom?
Funny you should ask. Here it is.
So that's not a rookie year though, right? That's 2018 or something.
McCaffrey didn't have green 1-of-1s until 2020, and this is from 2020.
So this is now proof that we don't.
Yeah,
It's not that we dislike kaboom; it's that we dislike the hype behind it.
that's right. This is good for us. That
Well, you.
this is good for me. I never hated kabooms, by the way, but I hated the hype around them, and like people comparing them to 90s PMGs. You know, it's way too early in the game for that. So let's just pump the brakes on the PMG comps. But I like the card, so it is what it is.
So John Morant PC next week.
I was talking John Morant on Clubhouse earlier this week, and like I mentioned, we do have a few John Morant cards. And people are like, what? You own John Morant cards and you're not just totally shilling for him?
You're like, you don't even know how this works, bro. You're supposed to say it's undervalued. You're supposed to say it's going to the moon, and you're sitting here talking crap about it.
Yeah, exactly. The Lamar's put away, my friend. Okay, that's going to do it for mail days. We have about 5 minutes till our guest comes on. Can we use that time maybe to talk about the new feature?
We can.
Yes.
I'm ready.
Let's go.
Okay, showcase. So this is basically for the ability to share your collection with everyone else in Card Ladder. So you can search other members' collections and they can search yours. There's just like a big old scrolling list of all the cards that have been showcased. I believe we're getting close to 4,000 now. And then you can also search by collections, which are sorted by most recently added. So as people add in new PCs, you'll be able to browse them, see what's been added. And then if you click on a PC, and then if you like get to the card, you can actually click on the owner, and it'll show you all their collections. I'm doing a bad job picking someone with like a lot of stuff. I think, let me find one with a lot. You have quite a bit. I'll click on yours. So you've got your PCs separated by player. So here's your Christian McCaffrey PC. And then if I click on this guy and I go to your page, so I'll click on you. Here's your 4 collections. And now I can drill into the MJ PC. That's why we're here. We can look at your entire Michael Jordan collection right here. I don't have to go to your Instagram and scroll through 5 million posts that aren't cards. I can go right here. So it's kind of like a searchable Flickr or like a searchable Instagram that's like really focused on the cards. And then if you are really have a burning desire to purchase the card, we did offer the ability to link out to your own personal profile. So when you're adding your collection to this, it prompts you that says like, hey, what's your profile link? If you want people to message you. If you do not, don't include the profile link and you will not be bothered. Collection. So like on the collection page, you click this little share thing, and then it asks you some questions. Hey, do you want an avatar? Do you want a display name to show up on your PC? Do you want a link, like I was saying? And then what's the name of your collection that you want to display? That's it.
Amazing. So you do have to opt in, as Josh showed. But it's fun. You know, people can find cool cards that you have. One of the Jokic collectors out there Must have punched in like Jokic Prism Gold and saw that I had 2 of them and messaged me, and he was like, "Oh, I see what you're up to here." And then I went and I looked up his collection, and he has the Jokic Rookie Prism Black, which is in this, which is in Showcase. And I was like, this is really dangerous to just be able to like see what I would consider to be Jokic's best card ever made. You know, it's just sitting there.
You can just literally go to, so what's that, 2015?
Yes.
So I just search Jokic Black 2015 and I can find
There it
these
is.
There it is right there. Click on it. Oh, can I message this guy and get it? You can, there's also an option to just like view their whole collection too. So
That's sweet. But I don't think he's selling. I don't think he is letting that bad boy go.
yeah, so people have asked like, yeah, is this like basically a marketplace? It's not really meant to be a marketplace. Like obviously people buy and sell cards. That's the way this game goes. But the focus really is more about what the name is, Showcase. It's about like, we kind of are thinking of it like a, you know, a display case at a show, really. That's kind of where the name came from, where you put stuff out, people to look at. It might be for sale, it might not. You know, it's really up to you. You can curate your own collection. And so I think it's more of like a fun discovery, like yet another way to discover cards you may not have known that existed, and just kind of browsing other. I just like click on random people's collections and see what they have. Even people I knew what they had, but I didn't really know because it was never organized and like in one straight shot. You know, it's kind of spread out.
It's amazing, man. You guys, you and your team did an incredible job of building that feature, and Card Ladder just gets better every day, man.
We also added the entertainment index today because everyone's so excited about Marvel cards. You want to see some? You want to see a graph? In the last month, it's up 126%.
Yeah, that's
like
unbelievable.
Looking like a couple of sales that really stuck out here.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the big ones was the 2013 Spider-Man Marvel PMG Red PSA 9 that sold for like 70-something grand with PWCC in December. And then there was a couple big purchases of this 2013 Spider-Man PMG Blue that happened in January. So those were 2 of the sales that kind of sent that market skyrocketing, but it had been underway for a while. So we've added about 3/4 of the PMG Red, Green, and Blue from 2013 so far, but it's been fun adding that stuff to the database, and we're bringing on new researchers soon who are going to be focused on cards like this more so than we currently do, as well as TCG. So looking forward to seeing those indexes become a lot more robust and insightful in the near future. All right, well, coming up on time for our guest, so I don't want to move on to a different topic or anything. Are we going to roll out that other index you showed me today?
No, Chris, you're not. No, because I'm nervous about it. It's just too big.
Oh, yeah, true.
It is quite big. I keep an eye on it periodically, and you know, for other reasons, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, does our guest know to request to join?
Let me see if I can actually poke him or whatever. Let me try that.
Yeah, I think I can too.
Yeah, go ahead and poke him.
Okay, I have a request. Invite to join. Dang, I may have forgotten his handle.
I'm sending him one.
All right. Stop, George.
There he is. He just joined. Can you request? Kevin, can you request? Or can you request him? I can't remember. You probably have to wait
There
for
it
him.
is. All right, let me send him a request.
Yep.
All right. Request should be sent.
Vegas Dave, it is not Vegas Dave. You're welcome, everyone.
Looks like they're finally getting this Mavs game back going.
They just like brought in a new rim.
They did. They brought in a new stanchion and a new rim. Longest first quarter in NBA history. Nope, not Card Kahuna. Looks like we all got duped.
Agreed. You have to say agreed. You have to
Agreed.
say agreed. Yeah.
That wasn't suspicious at all.
I'm sending him a second invite. Maybe he didn't get the first one. What inning are we in with Marvel cards?
Oof. What? We're in extra innings already.
Oh no, it says our guest is unable to join.
Why?
I don't know. Where's Stiff Arm Wax with that gold bowl ball? Stiff Arm Wax has been immortalized with a meme. Did you happen to see this?
No. I'm on, but it's not letting me join. Can you request us to join? How do you request to join an existing live that you're in? It usually prompts you when you first join.
Yeah, exactly. It prompts you when you first join.
Yeah, he has to be on his phone.
Oh, and you need to be on phone. Yeah, you got to be on your phone, buddy.
I'm telling him to leave and come back, and then it will prompt you request to join. Click that.
This is the. I'm not gonna. I will not play the audio. This is just a little preview. Go to Lememe's page and check out that meme. Starring Stiff Arm Wax. Yeah, got to be on a phone or a tablet, I guess, to come live with us.
He's got a very diverse set of posts.
Yeah. Yes, he does.
I get so much like top your pussy.
Oh, all right. Well, that's what I get for playing that audio.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
All right, we got it.
Maybe.
I pushed accept.
There we go.
There we go. You can't do it on a computer, apparently. I just learned that.
What's up, Kevin?
What's up?
How's it going, man?
Good.
Kevin is the president of PSA and is joining us tonight just to have a quick conversation about some of the recent things that have been going on. Kevin, welcome.
Thank you.
It's great to have you on, man.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure.
All right. Well, Josh, where do we want to start, man?
Well, we talked a lot about the Marx card thing last week, so I don't think we need to go through all of it, Kevin. Maybe just kind of start wherever you want with this, and tell people like what's going on, what's the update on the PSA side, and just go for it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I would say everything I describe as in terms of what we want to do as PSA is hedged a bit by the bankruptcy process, meaning I don't anticipate much. The assets are the assets of the cards. And so, there's part of the assets of the collectors. So there's not really any claim in a bankruptcy towards those assets. However, the timing of it can be, rapid or slow based on the challenges within the filing. So I'll hedge everything by saying, we have to follow certain rules, as a creditor, and there's some things we have to abide by, but, I'll describe what our aim is to do. And basically our aim is to, finish the cards we have. So there's probably around 50,000 cards at PSA. About a quarter of them are already done. About 3/4 of them are not done. And so we are going to just basically restart the process. So we're going to run the rest of the cards through, grade them, and then send them out to collectors. We have a very incomplete list of collectors, so we need people to email in and confirm, which cards are there, so we can cross-reference the sort of half-filled list with customer names, et cetera. We have customer names and orders But what we're missing is email addresses and addresses and things like that. So we'll definitely need that information. So I do encourage everybody to email into the address, Jackie's address, to give that information. But we absolutely will grade those cards.
Wow. That is, I mean, we saw the statement, and the only part that was unclear, well, it was like first of all, obviously the part that was exciting for everybody is they're going to get their cards back. But
Yeah.
the only unclear part was what's going to happen with the raws. So you're saying you're going to grade them and still send them back?
Yeah. I mean, and I will say it took us some time to even figure out if we could send them back. I mean, there was a lot of kind of legal wrangling, and also just like we really wanted to have the customer list before we committed to doing anything, because without that, it's very difficult. You can imagine not everybody even has a record of the cards they sent in. So how do we decide where to send what? So, that we had to float a bunch of different processes, but, I talked to a bunch of people and tried to figure out what I thought would be best. Obviously it's a hit for us. We'll kind of eat some of this, but I think it's the right thing to do. I think, generally, it's not the collector's fault that, this happened, and so we don't want to punish the collectors by sending them back their raw cards. And, the prices were pretty different back then too, so we recognize that for sure.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Did Marx end up providing a good list, or how did that go?
Yeah, they did. They sent a list to us that, like I said, it has, at the very least, it has an Instagram handle. And so we can see kind of who people are, but it's not like we need addresses. So we're going to have to, there's very few actual mailing addresses. So we'll need that information.
Have you been like piecing it together with people that have, because you put in like, hey, you're telling everyone to email you, that's in the the post that you guys made. So
Yeah.
Have people been emailing, and have you been able to match those up with that list?
Yeah, for the most part, yes. I mean, I'm not the one doing that, but yeah, we haven't had any yet that we were just sort of, I mean, we're definitely being stringent about the process, right? Because we don't want people claiming other people's cards. So there's some checks and balances we'll ask for in terms of how the cards are yours, et cetera. But it's, I think it'll work out. It's just going to take, I will say this too, it's definitely going to take time. There's just no way around that. It's a lot of cards, and we have to basically create individual accounts for everyone that doesn't have one, and then update the accounts, get them all mailed out. So, it's just going to take time. I hope everyone can be patient, but we'll get there.
Yeah, that's great, man. I just want to point out a couple of the comments in the chat. One quote is, "This is the greatest moment in customer service. I hope other companies are taking notes." A couple other ones coming in. Well done. Always great, showing good faith. Just pretty cool, you guys. Great solution. I agree. I think that's leadership in a nutshell. Well done.
Yeah,
I'm sure it wasn't easy to come to that decision. I can imagine it wasn't.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot to weigh there for sure. I mean, a big part of it is we didn't really understand exactly what was happening at the beginning. We just kind of had some texts and a lot of wild information running around. So it was hard to know, what to believe. And there was a lot of different emails and things like that. But, generally, I had a pretty good sense of this. I will say there's some, this was not a sudden happening, but we kept them, kind of paying up front for the last 3 or 4 months in an attempt for them to help pay their. We didn't ask them to pay up front and submit, and that worked out pretty well until it didn't. And so I just wanted to clarify that we wouldn't, in this situation, we wouldn't typically extend payments. That's not something we're going to do. Yeah. And I would also mention, we do, as a result of this, we really have to change a bit of the way we operate in terms of group submitters, particularly the deposit. It's just, it makes everybody invested in the same way. And generally, I think collectors are fine with that. I mean, I think even most of the group submitters are fine with that as well. But it's just the only way to ensure, or at least better ensure, that this doesn't happen again.
So
There was a.
Oh, go ahead, Josh.
I wanted to ask one quick question and go back. There was someone who made a post earlier this week. I don't know if you saw it, Kevin, but basically they had their raw cards sent back to them. So is that outside the system you're describing, or how did that happen?
That didn't come from us. Yeah, that didn't come from us. Yeah, if they're coming back raw, I don't know where they're coming from, but it's not from us. We haven't sent anything out. So
it's possible Marx still had some to be sent to you guys that he was holding.
it's possible, yeah. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, it's definitely possible.
Interesting. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, so looking ahead to the future of group submitters, I've seen a couple questions come in, just kind of what's that going to look like? And you mentioned a deposit. You know, most collectors, like myself included, when we've gone through group submitters, we pay up front. So that it has been done that way for a while by some collectors. So is there going to be a partial payments up front, or is there going to be a pivot maybe towards a more direct to consumer model? What should we be expecting?
I would say we do have a pretty strong direct to consumer model, right? We've got the Collectors Club. We've got, the majority of our submissions come in directly. I think there was a big kind of swing to group submissions over the last few years, and there's a variety of reasons. The pricing was kind of moving around more than it is now. But for sure, we want to encourage people, if they feel comfortable to send cards in on their own. And that's kind of what's behind the Collectors Club. That's going to be the sort of pathway to the lower tiers. So yeah, I mean, I think it's really, we're not going to charge the entire amount up front. And the reason being that, then it's an issue of, well, I've already paid. So the turnaround time becomes trickier when you have the whole amount up front. So a 50% deposit, I think, is like the right balance where you're invested in it. And basically, I did see that blank slab, by the way, to answer that question. Yeah, we took it down. That allows them to be invested and we're invested. And so we share the risk there as opposed to just, floating for however long the cards are with us.
Nice. Now, you mentioned Collectors Club, and some people know about Collectors Club, and they've been participating in the submission events that have been happening over the last few weeks. But could you explain what Collectors Club is to those of us who might not know what it is?
Yeah, it's a membership that basically, I mean, and right now it's tier access, so it's the access to the lower tiers of submission. So it's economy right now, but there's a lot of other services that we'll add in there. There's in addition to like swag and stuff like that, there's kind of advanced pricing tools that we'll make available through that. A whole bunch of additional features, kind of more digital centric features, and then obviously the discount rates. So it's sort of it's a limited offering right now, but over time we're basically going to add to it. It's kind of like Prime for card submissions.
Awesome. Okay, Josh, go ahead, bud, if you had something.
I mean, we can't really have the president of PSA on without asking about the backlog or the progress there. So I think everyone just wants to hear maybe just like your quick pitch on like how that's going and where you guys feel it's going in the next year.
Yeah, I mean, we're shooting to have it done by beginning of fall, and that basically means that we devote the majority of our effort to it. Right now we're like at maybe 90%, 10%. We want to be at closer to 80-20, and that allows us to take these submissions. We have to limit economy submissions as a result because we need to get through the backlog. So we have a pretty specific kind of strike plan and proportion that we hit to get the backlog done, and we get through that, call it September, October, and then, that's that. I think there'll always be a small backlog, right? For the cards that are taking 90 days. But, the general idea is to have that existing one through, like I said, September, October.
Yeah, so the goal is to introduce new levels and then always be continuously caught up.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it remains to be seen, what the low price is. I mean, we definitely are going to go lower than 50. It's a question of volume and demand, how low that price goes, but we're definitely coming down from where we are now for sure.
I mean, it was 150 recently, so now just to get 50,
exactly, right?
It's pretty cheap.
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead, Chris.
How are the submission events going on your end? Are you seeing the results that PSA wants to see? Is there anything that collectors should know about those submission events?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly wish we could service everybody. We usually have, 7,000, 8,000 members for 5 cards each join, and we can only do, 1,000, 2,000. So we are aware of it. We want to make sure that everyone that has a Collectors Club membership can get access to that. We're definitely looking at different ways to do that, while still being fair to everybody. But, we want to make sure that we don't also kind of recreate the backlog. So it's a balancing act, but I think that's the big one, is that we are aware that not everyone's getting submissions, and we're trying to figure out ways to kind of fairly allocate to the folks that feel like they've been shut out, because there are a few for sure that maybe bought a membership and didn't get to submit. So we're definitely going to take care of those folks.
Great. Man, that's we threw a lot at you about the PSA stuff. So like, give you a more fun one. How do you feel just like about the hobby in general? I know that like, you're fairly new to like this new role, and you're kind of being given the water hose a little bit with all this drama, but how do you feel just about the hobby going forward, and are you having fun with it so far?
Yeah, I am. There's definitely challenges. It's an interesting, the brand is kind of incredible. I think when I started Gentleman, I sort of underestimated how powerful it is to have, 50 million cards with their name on it out there. It's an extremely popular brand, which you don't necessarily always know as a collector, but I really understand that now. So there's just like a lot of eyeballs on it, and when things like this happen, it gets a lot of attention. I would say, as far as the hobby goes, I think it'd be really interesting to see, like, you kind of had this like coincidental COVID crypto bro card explosion thing going on, and which is great, right? There was all these new collectors and a lot of very investing centric collectors. And so part of me is really excited to see like what that group wants. Cause like, for instance, the set registry is right in its current form is really geared towards traditional collectors who are trying to build sets, right? But like new collectors might be more concerned with the value of their collection, or, high quality images or what have you. And so, I think it'll be interesting to try and build tools for that group. I also hope that they don't totally wash out. I have a little bit of fear that, the new group will sort of appear and disappear. And I hope that doesn't happen. I do feel like the hobby's fun enough to stick around. But it remains to be seen. I think that's my big question is, do the folks that showed up in the last 2 years really stick around? I think I think the most of them probably will. There definitely be some washout, but that's like something to watch. And then I think like modern prices will probably reflect that movement more so than vintage.
Nice. All right, Ryan, I've got a completely fun question to pivot to. Who's your Super Bowl pick? Bengals or Rams?
I don't know, man. I picked. You shouldn't ask me, man. I picked the Patriots to win it. It was like the least winning playoff team this year. Yeah, I had
the Cardinals
Super Bowl.
My team. Cardinals too. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I don't have a pick there. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, but you got to pick one, Kevin, before we let you go.
All right.
Burrow and the Bengals. You want the Cinderella? Or
I'll go with Joe Burrow. Yeah, I'd like to see that. I'm less excited about Stafford. So.
Fair.
Joey B.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we know you're on the East Coast, man, and we know that we really appreciate you coming on late and
my pleasure.
Some time with us. Any last thoughts or anything you want to leave the audience with before we go ahead and let you go, buddy?
I'll tell you, one person on the chat just said, ask Kevin to show us his Mac, so I will show you one. There's my last thought right there. That's the least.
Oh my God.
Pretty
What's
cool.
The story?
That hard drive up there is a 5 megabyte hard drive. Can you believe that? It's like
What's the story?
Shoebox, and it sounds like an airplane.
Is that a collectible? What's the story?
Oh yeah, there's vintage computing is kind of niche because it's hard to ship them, but yeah, I collect quite a few. I've got everything from the Apple One up to like 2000. I've got a lot of Apple gear.
Wow. Does that actually work? Can you turn that thing on?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know if I can do it. I'll see if it's plugged in. Hold on.
You'll start turning it on.
You're gonna have to wait a while. I mean,
yeah.
I'll let the screen light up. Let's see.
This is not what I expected to happen. If you would have gave me a million things to happen, I would not have put this on that list.
Kevin, people are joking. This is your.
See it booting?
There we go.
Pretty cool. It's got the old clackety-clack keyboard.
Wow.
Yeah, that's called the Lisa. That's the computer that Jobs named his daughter after.
Oh, wow. That's great. So what year would that come out in?
I think that's 83, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So I wasn't even born.
Yeah. Pretty cool stuff. So I'll leave you guys with that. It's definitely past my bedtime. Thank you so much for having me on, and look forward to joining you guys again sometime.
Thanks,
Kevin.
All
Appreciate
right,
it.
thanks. Bye.
There we go.
So,
What a terrific beginning of the resolution to what's a very unfortunate situation that PSA was unfairly placed into, as were collectors. I echo WTF Frankie when he said that's pretty much the peak of what customer service looks like.
yeah, I mean, we don't have much, there's not much we can say. This is the resolution that collectors were hoping to get, obviously. Like, collectors don't want to, dish out more money. They would love to get their cards back, and everything's going to be solved for them. And I don't know, Steve, what do you think?
Steve.
Matt? Is your name Matt now? Are we giving out random names? I thought. He like stopped for a second. He's like, Ryan. That's not me.
All right. Sorry, Joe. Moving on here.
All right, Earl.
We've got some.
Josh and I have talked about it before that, like, I'm the one who keeps track of names.
Not
Yes.
Yeah, not.
Yeah. All right.
She told me her middle name yesterday, and then today she's like, "What's my middle name again?" I was like, "I don't fucking know." Maria?
Two of you.
Well, you have an unusual middle name.
Yeah.
No, it's easy to remember now.
I know Josh's middle name.
I know, but that's like.
It's Ryan. No, I know Josh's middle name.
You know how I remember her middle name now?
Pretty easy. I think I gave you a nice little trick to remember it.
I did. You did. You're bald. Alex Caruso is bald, and
That works too. Alex Caruso, the heir to the Michael Jordan throne.
There you go.
All right, we have a bazillion
wait,
questions.
doesn't he do that?
Yeah. We have
Go ahead.
many questions. So I want to try and do like a rapid fire approach to these to get through all of them. First is Upstate Sports Cards. He says, is there any way to stop the pop-up Instagram accounts that spam us with their promote it comments on all of our posts? Is there a way to solve this problem?
Nope. Did you see?
Yeah,
I think Cardler posted, and one of them came up and it said, "Will you please do this?" And I replied, "No."
No. Josh has engaged with the bots.
I don't think there is actually, because even if you like systematically block them and stuff, I think they just keep popping up. It's really annoying. Instagram has to be the ones to solve it.
Man, I wish they would. Okay, next question up. This comes from Social Card Work. Would love to hear your thoughts on the 1969 Wilt PSA 9 sale. This sale was tremendous. We even featured it thanks to Stiff Arm Wax in Card Ladder's social media. So this is obviously a gorgeous card, the 69 Wilt. Once sold for 42 grand less than a year ago, and then it sold for 276 grand with Heritage a week ago. This is a PSA 9. PSA 10 is pop 0. There are no PSA 10s of this card, so this is the highest graded, and the PSA 9 is a pop 9. So we have vintage viewers who, rightfully point out that we don't talk about vintage all that much. But when a sale like that happens, when a card goes up 6, 7, 8 times in value in less than a year, which does happen occasionally in sports cards. But when that happens with vintage, it's worth calling it out. And I don't have too much analysis to offer on that. I think that's an extraordinary increase in price. Somebody actually commented and said maybe they were hoping to get a 10. Maybe they saw something that they liked and they were hopeful they could crack and get the first 10. Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, not on that specifically, but a sale like this always reminds me that the hobby is much deeper than I think. And we see Marvel cards 10x and we freak out, and we see Kaboom 10x and we freak out. And then there's stuff that's like there's no hype around that specific card, and yet it still is doing a similar thing. So there is still places in this hobby that have extreme organic rapid growth. I don't know for sure that this was organic. I'm just assuming because I hadn't heard anything about it, but it's crazy how stuff you weren't paying attention to at all just all of a sudden explodes.
Yeah, no doubt. Unbelievable price for that card. My buddy Jeff points out that Heritage labeled it as a pop 4 in their item description. So maybe that has something to do with it too, but man, you're spending that type of money, I'd probably double check the pop report myself.
Yeah.
Or just check Card Ladder, which also displays the pop reports. Anyway, Drake's PC says, I like this question. I'm very curious to know your answer to this question, sir. Joe. When scrolling Instagram, what causes you to like, comment, and or share a post or story? That's from Drake's PC.
I'm gonna go old school on this answer and get real basic on you. This is my basic bitch answer. A card that looks really cool,
That helps.
or a card that I haven't seen, or like some sort of card that, like, you know, aesthetically catches my eye and or that I haven't ever seen before. I like some of these accounts that just like reshare cool cards with, you know, permission and with, you know, the proper tagging. I think the Hobby's Best Cards account shows cards I didn't know had popped up on Instagram or that were for sale that I didn't know about. That usually is like the easiest way. I also like the stuff, I like your kind of style of posts where it's like you usually have like a pretty engaging like first slide that like has the arrow and it's going to get into some major topic where you dig into all the stats and stuff. Those are the two I think that get me to stop.
What is your like to total
Impression?
Yeah, what's your like to impression ratio? You like 1
Really
out of
low.
10?
1 out of 10, yeah, low. Probably even less than that.
Christina, what's your like to impression ratio? For how many pictures on Instagram do you scroll through before you like one?
It's probably the opposite of Josh's.
Well,
Like it's
yeah.
like 9 out of 10.
Oh, you like almost everything?
Yeah, if I see it, like I don't often scroll through Instagram, so that's why like I always feel bad when I do have the chance to scroll through. That like I'm awful at scrolling through because I'm usually like answering DMs on my account and Card Ladder's account, and like I'm usually on Instagram to try and be productive and not like enjoy cards. So when I have the chance to scroll through, I like pretty much everything unless someone's being like rude or mean in a comment, and then I'm like, I'm not gonna like that.
All right, fair enough. What about commenting or sharing? What's your comment/share to impression ratio?
Ooh, I mean, obviously less. The commenting and sharing is usually like when it's somebody I know or like something that's like related to me, you know, selfishly.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, Josh never shares anything that I tag him in.
The approach of the liking everything, I call that the Nick Uliano approach. I dare you to find a card Instagram post that he has not liked. Good luck.
Find an account that he doesn't follow.
Dude, I had helped a friend get into the hobby, and he had made an Instagram, and he's like, I only have 2 followers. You and who's Nick Uliano? And I just laughed so hard. I'm like, oh my god, it would be Nick. He's probably like figuring out who's like card accounts that he likes follow other accounts, and he just like is all over that stuff.
Shout out to Nick. Okay, next question here from Underdog Cards. Joe Burrow's index is up 150% over the last 6 months. He has good on-field statistics, and he's likable off the field. He's humble and a fan favorite to win the Super Bowl. Who do you see is the equivalent to Joe Burrow in other sports?
John Morant.
Yeah,
Honestly, I'm not joking. I'm not.
I agree. That was what I said when I first saw that question as well.
I think you posted this, right? You posted that his stats are not like incredibly amazing for someone who's gotten to the Super Bowl without like an amazing supporting cast or offensive line.
Yep.
He's been a little bit fortunate. Like it's worked out pretty well for him to get to this point, but he's also, the flip side of that coin is he's very clutch. Like in those big moments, like when it is time for that first down or that we need a field goal here to win the game, he's getting you those things. He's just, but it's not like he can't do the big stats. He's had those like 450-yard, 5-touchdown games. So like he can do that too. It's not like he can't. It just so happens in these playoffs he's winning, but also not, you know, doing the 5-touchdown games.
Yeah, no, he's only thrown 4 touchdowns the entire playoffs, and he's thrown 2 interceptions. The real star of that team, Money McPherson, who's made at least 4 or more field goals every single game in the playoffs. He's already tied the single season playoff record for most field goals made as a rookie, and he doesn't miss.
And he has a whole another game to play.
Yeah. Now, if we were shifting from like sports to the hobby, I don't know if Joe Burrow has an analog, because this hobby gets so excited over winning and the prospect of championships, like so excited. And I don't think there's any young guy, at least not in basketball, who's really positioned to be in the in the NBA finals. And, you know, so like if Morant's like got to the NBA finals, then the comp is complete.
How many years of runway does like Zion and LaMelo Ball and guys that like didn't make the All-Star team this year, how many years of runway do they have left before the hobby gets bored of them? Because like you could say, oh, they'll never get bored. Those guys are really hyped. But if you just like pick anybody in year 5 and 6, you just start going down the line of draft picks from year 5 and 6. You're like, oh shoot, I forgot about them. Do they still have cards?
Yeah, dude. I mean, you know who the comp that came to my mind was? Jason Tatum to Joe Burrow, because Tatum and those Celtics made to the Eastern Conference Finals in his second year, I think.
Yeah.
So that's maybe a closer comp, perhaps. But like you said, you know, some of these guys, the 18-19 class is running out of runway. I think like even though guys like Trey and Luka and Ayton, some of those guys are doing pretty well, but like they're not the shiny new object anymore. And you go back to class before, Tatum and Mitchell and stuff, like those guys are starting to just kind of feel a little stale. 19-20 class, Morant made a leap last year, then Morant made another leap this year, so he's keeping the energy going and stuff. But like, where do you leap from here? You're a fringe MVP candidate. You're on a team that's third in the West. You know, I don't think there's many more leaps left to be made. So at a certain point, you do kind of just like the next hump is you actually have to, you know, win something serious here.
I mean, Donovan Mitchell, another All-Star team. He's playing, you know, just as well as he has been playing. Nothing really more spectacular or less.
Ever statistically, yeah.
And he's down 21%. So it's not even like, we've said it so many times, it's not even the play on the court or the field. It's, you know, guys just get older, and if they're not like ascending into the top 5, people just move on.
Yeah, no doubt. One last note on Joe Burrow, and we also have one more question about him. Joe Burrow's Prism-based PSA 10 went from $150 to $650 in the last 7 weeks. So Prism-based, and it is popped 2,700. So Prism-based quietly making a comeback for Joe Burrow. What do you think about that? Why did his Prism-based card quadruple in value over the last few weeks?
People just want something Burrow to buy, and it's readily available. You know, they're just like trying to treat it like a stock market and gobble something up. Go to the question about, there was a really good question that I'm still trying to figure out the answer to about like, who are these people buying this stuff if everyone's saying to sell? You know what I'm talking about?
Love that question. All right, I'll cue that one up, and then I just want to get through the one other Burrow question. Okay. This is from Juan Giro. If Joe Burrow wins the Super Bowl, how much will his RPA increase in value? By the way, a raw one just sold for $66,000 within the last few days. Our NTR at a 99.
If it's like a Brady Falcons thing, it will definitely like go bananas and people will be buying that stuff. If it's just like we've been seeing, I think it'll be pretty flat, to be honest. Like it's already gone up quite a bit. And if it's just like a McPherson game-winning field goal at the end, like a 16-13 game, I'm not sure.
Yeah, and the other question there that isn't asked is, what happens if he loses the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Then what happens?
I don't know. There's just never like a really strong playbook that says like, if you win, you go up this. If you lose, you go. There's not, like, this doesn't exist, and we're just gonna have to see. It really more depends on like the hype and the future prospecting. I would say that like, the finality of like this playoff run being over might hinder his value, and just like sort of the air being let out of the balloon of all the hype around it, and we'll probably see a letdown in the off season. Just based on like how much it's gone up, and I don't know how much more sustainable this can be.
Love it. That's the most sober discourse you're going to hear in this hobby around Joe Burrow. All right.
To the moon.
Let's move on to the question from Kevin M. Cormier. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Cormier. The good sell / bad buy paradox. I love it. Not only has he identified a huge problem in this hobby theoretically, but he named it. He titled it. So he says, when almost every voice in the hobby is saying to sell now, current example, Joe Burrow, because his prices are high. And those same people are saying it's not a great time to buy. Well, then who are we selling our Joe Burrows to? Who is buying them if we're telling them sell, sell, sell? And who is buying them? It's a great question, Kevin. He continues, are we all theoretically looking for the uninformed buyers or the simpletons? And if we all claim to want a more educated hobby market, is taking advantage of those people hypocritical?
Well, I mean, we get kind of caught up in the world we live in and what's around us on Instagram, and we think that everyone has all the same, YouTube content that we do. They watch the same stuff as we do. Everyone knows what we know, and everyone's trying to sell their burrow. eBay is a big fucking marketplace, and there's a lot of people on eBay that have nothing to do with any of the social media stuff, and they just buy cards. So there definitely is that swath of the simpleton or whatever, and some of those people are actually probably more savvy than we are. Like the people who lay in the weeds and don't need all the the hype and the fluff. They just kind of do their thing. But in these markets, there's always going to be buyers and sellers on both sides, and you're always going to be able to find somebody at some price point, and the market dictates what that price point is. And if you're able to sell at that price, there's a buyer. There's probably a justifiable reason for someone buying it on the other end. Now, the counterpoint to that is eventually when that sense tips too far and everyone is actually feeling like, hey, this is a sell, that's when you're actually going to see the middle finger stuff. And everyone kind of realizes it at once, and then the bottom falls out because the only value in that item is the actual value. And when that happens, the price starts to correct itself. So I'm not saying that's going to happen with Burrow, but it feels a little bit like that because everyone is saying so. We probably will see some sell off.
Yeah. Mission Street gave an answer to this in the comments when he said, actually, there's lots of different opinions on stuff. At different points in their career, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and LeBron James were sells as well. And it made me think about Mahomes, right? Like after Mahomes' first Super Bowl, that was the time to sell. But people who bought Mahomes after the Super Bowl and held him for 6 months did better than people who bought Mahomes 6 months before the Super Bowl and sold after the Super Bowl. So there seems to be a lot of hobby wisdom around when to buy and when to sell, but not very much empirical support, because that Mahomes example is one of many during which sell periods were when people who were buying did quite well, but not always the case. But I was talking to Jeremy Lee earlier this week, and he actually said that he would be ready to buy a Joe Burrow card after Burrow wins the Super Bowl, because his point of view on Burrow is he wants proven players. He wants players who've already accomplished things. He wants players who already have legacies and who are already, doing really, really difficult, admirable, incredible athletic achievements. So, to that point, and to Mission Street's point, there is not just one uniform approach. People who say sell Burrow now, but there's plenty of other people who say, I'm not even ready to buy Burrow yet. I need to wait and see if he wins. So there's lots of different approaches. And just because the loudest voices maybe make it seem like there's a monolithic approach, there is not. I'm also one of the guys who would wait until Burrow actually had the Super Bowl. Maybe even wait to see what offseason moves the team makes. And maybe then I would get a Joe Burrow card.
Remember after Mahomes won the Super Bowl, and I started looking at Mahomes cards at that point. It's very similar to what Jeremy's talking about. So I completely agree with that stance. I think that's really smart. And you kind of wait for we're going to Disneyland phase to wear off on winning that first Super Bowl. And you kind of wait it out, and then eventually people will look at other things. They switch to basketball, and that's the point where it's all right, won the Super Bowl. The other thing, the last piece of advice was watch the fucking games. Watch these guys. Go watch them play. You just do the eye test for yourself. You get a sense of if you watch Mahomes play, you're like, oh my God, I don't care how many Super Bowls this guy has already and how high his prices are. I think he's this is the real deal. Just go watch Joe Burrow, watch the playoffs, go watch highlights, watch the Super Bowl, really start to study him as a player and figure out what you think, make your opinion off of that if you want to play that prospecting game.
Yeah, I agree. And last point here, South Park is making in the chat. He says he is aware that, or he says buying even proven commodities does not always equate to market value. Big Ben does not sell well, even though he has 2 Super Bowls before he was 26 years old and 3 appearances before 29. Yeah, that goes back to the point you made earlier, which is a really good point, which is there is no playbook that's going to solve this. If you just input variables X, Y, and Z, then, you can know what's going to happen. It never works that way, does it?
The stock bros really want it to be that though, Chris. They want it so bad.
Yeah. We have the most stock bro question ever from the great Drake's PC that I don't know if we'll get to or not, but it deals with here, I'll ask it now just because we don't have the space to answer it now. But I thought, okay, so his question was, assuming there are 4 phases in a market cycle: accumulation, markup, distribution, and markdown, which phase do you think we are currently in? And I had to look this up, this 4-part theory of a market cycle. And, long story short, accumulation is when, prices are stagnant. Markup is when the prices go up. Distribution, prices stagnate again. And then markdown is when prices come back down. So which cycle are we in? Who knows? I don't even know if that theory necessarily applies. And I would love to get into this, but we don't. We have so many other questions that we can't go into depth with it. But you made me think about Drake's question, because guys who practice technical analysis want to see it play out on sports card charts. But our market is so dynamic and has so many external variables like the performance of players and real unpredictable sports events that it's just really hard to do that.
And some people don't care about any of that, and they just want the cards for the collectability, for the set. So there's yet another variable that stocks do not have that they're just not able to, input into their systems.
Yeah, totally right. Okay.
Nobody collects shares of stuff. It's like, oh, I finally added to my mantelpiece that freaking minted share of fucking Tesla, and that doesn't exist.
All right, Green Eye Sports 24 has a question for Christina. Come over here. What are you doing sitting over here anyway? Come here.
I'm watching the game that you keep glancing at.
I don't glance at it.
That you're pretending like you're not glancing this
Green
way.
Eye.
He keeps doing that. It's starting to hurt my feelings.
I'm not doing that.
It's because the game is on right here.
I have a Twitch. All right, Green Eye Sports 24 said, Christina, is collecting Maxi Kleber more exciting than collecting Luka because you can afford rarer cards? You have 20 seconds.
Okay, so this is a difficult one because, yes, I can have more rare cards, and, yes, it's fun to, break out of my collector's comfort zone and build a rainbow set and stuff like that. But, at the same time, I miss buying Luka Grails. So, I already told you, I saw this question and I was just I don't really know how to answer that because they're both fun, but if I didn't have Maxi to collect, I'd be fine. But if I only had Maxi to collect, I would not be fine. So I guess there's your answer.
That's a good answer. All right. A contingent.
It's like McCaffrey is more of a supplementary thing to you than the primary, and Jordan's your primary, and then for me, Chris Paul is more of a supplement. But if you really made me choose, it's obviously I'd rather have my LeBron collection, not just because of the money, but.
Exactly.
Mama Break says you convinced her to start completing Clayton Kershaw rainbows.
I know. Hey, Stephanie.
All right. Next question. Bear Down Boiler Up says, I used to make trades with friends all the time as kids, but since getting back into the hobby in 2008, I think I only made 1 trade in 14 years. But this last month, I made 2, neither of which I initiated. Both were great experiences and really brought even more nostalgia back for me. What is your favorite or best trade story? And cash may be part of it, but at least 1 card was swapped for another. And looking back, did you win or do you have regrets?
Yeah, I have a pretty massive trade, thankfully, I did that trade just so I could answer this question. So that's, that's how dedicated I am to this show.
Nice.
I had this. You might want to cover yours, Chris. This is going to be painful for you.
Oh, I know what it is.
I had the BGS 8.5 Michael Jordan PMG championship that I traded for a LeBron number pieces, exquisite with Tim, exquisite collector. I think I don't remember how much cash was added or who I don't actually. I think it was pretty straight up, but I don't know who won the deal. He probably won the deal. You know, Jordan. That PMG is pretty massive, and I don't really know what the number piece. I don't think I've seen the number pieces sell since or ever. So I don't know. I'm still happy with the trade. I got a LeBron. He got a Jordan.
That's a win-win. That's a win-win trade. Do you do many trades though, or just once in a while? It's not. Why? Why do you think that is?
Because like we have so much data that it just becomes really difficult to like find a perfect trade where, you know, like I'm giving up something that's like already in my PC and I have to find something that I want better in my PC, but it also has to match value. It's just like a lot of different things have to line up. And like I said, we just have so much data that it's like, oh, well, like last comp on yours is $50 less and he's saying it's more. And it's like, yeah, it's just.
The haggle of it. The haggle is a hassle. Yeah. I don't make very many trades. The most recent trade I made was trading out of, you know, some Luka Prism based stuff and some lower end type of cards in an exchange. It was partial cash, partial trade, and in exchange getting back Luka rookie year immaculate jersey number out of 77 RPA BJS 85 auto 10. But we really both lost that trade because I think both sides of the trade went down in value since it happened. So,
didn't you have that one trade with like the LeBron Chrome Blue X Fractor and you ended up getting like Luka Gold or something?
Ooh, that was a good trade. That was also partial cash. This was in 2019, right after National Treasures basketball come out. A guy had the Luka NTRPA Raw at Bullpen shop, and the owner of the shop notified Christina that the card was in the store. And so the card actually found us because we started opening a box of Hobby Prism Choice, and like a Melvin Frazier Tiger Stripe came out, and the guy was interested in it. We ended up going back and forth. We traded some really good cards. It was like, I think the 05 Topps Chrome Blue out of 90 LeBron. Is that 04 or 05? We had that encased 05. And then we also had a Trae Young PSA 10 Fast Break Pink out of 50. A LeBron auto patch card from like 08 or 09. That it was not a high-end card. It was like, I can't even remember what it's called. We got it from Josh Keane, so shout out Josh Keane. Basically, we ended up trading that stuff plus some cash for Luka and TRPA. So that was a cool deal as well.
Remember how fun it was? This is like totally like get off my lawn, you know, remember the old days kind of shit. But like, remember when we used to make deals on cards that were less than 10K and we would just like, yeah, good times. Now it's like everything we have to be involved in has to be more than 10K or it just doesn't get our juices flowing because the cards are so fucking expensive.
Or as Big Rang would say, it doesn't get the lactic acids flowing. All right. 610 Sports Card says, what are some things people can do in the coming weeks or months to prepare for the National?
Watch
You mean months?
on Cardboard Chronicles talk about preparing for the National.
Yeah, this is Justin's favorite topic.
Yeah.
This is Justin's like once a year he comes out from hiding and he's like, I'm ready to teach all you motherfuckers about National. And he's the best at it. He's the best. So yeah, just go watch those Cardboard Chronicles videos from Justin himself. He's probably asking like, you know, what can we do a few months? Look at hotels probably now, like start planning travel now. And I know it's pretty early, but like I don't think it's too early to ever start planning the travel side.
Maybe Justin should write a small book on the topic of the National, and we can just distribute that about this time.
No, then he becomes rendered useless, and he wants to be the face of it. He wants to continue to talk about it, and he should. That's his thing.
Well, it could be an almanac. He could update it every year with the new, the new location and stuff. Are we booked and ready for the National?
No.
No.
That's why when I started saying it, I was like, "Don't just wait next week. I'll give you the advice again. No, don't do it now."
That you were addressing this question because we have plans to start addressing this on Monday ourselves for the three of us. So,
Well, Chris tells you when to bid.
until Tuesday.
Chris tells you when to bid on cards that he hasn't completed, purchasing it, and I tell you to go book my hotels before I have one. So we're
There
both
we go. All right.
Well, no, because you told me not to book the hotel until Monday, Joshua Johnson, and that's why the hotel's not booked.
She almost even put the middle name in it.
You better hide all
All right.
You almost said my middle name.
Let's move on to another question. Tommy B. Cards says, I like this question a lot. I've never sold a card. I've never been to a card show, but I would like to set up at the National. What do I need to know and how do I go about doing it? And can we answer this question for the National and just for like a regular show as well?
The National is really hard because you can't just like go buy a table. You have to know somebody, honestly. You can't just get a table. It's it's like first come, first serve, and they give it to people who have had it in the past already. But other shows, you can contact, the whoever's setting up the show and see if they have any tables. Obviously start there and just like contact people running the show and start figuring out if you have friends that can help get you a piece of their table that they already have and, negotiate maybe. You could also just like walk up and like, hey, I'll give you X amount of money for that piece. I've seen people do that at National, especially in the last few days of National. When people start to leave, you could normally just kind of walk around and be like, hey, I'll give you $500 to let me set up, this corner or whatever.
Nice. That's great advice. Okay. And then at other shows, it's just get in touch with the promoter or the show's organizer, and they can usually quote your rates and help you get set up. And maybe honestly, your first show ever maybe should not be the National. Maybe start at a smaller or a regional or a local show. All right, Chaz Pennysleeve says, final question on the National. He goes, I'm attending my first ever National in the AC this year. Do you have any tips regarding when I should start looking for Airbnbs? Hotels that week are already pricey. Should we book early or should we wait till the last minute and try to snag a cheap spot near the convention center?
You should wait till Tuesday.
Yeah, we already answered this now. Okay.
Wait till Tuesday. Is there any luck with this like wait till the last second thing? Has that ever worked for anybody? No.
What? No, that doesn't work. Let me be clear here. That doesn't work for anything, not just National. That is just like that's not a way to live, people.
You're talking to the wrong person, Josh. Everything. Okay.
I'm not looking at you, Chris. I'm looking at Christina. So.
All right, next question. From Mad City Collector. Mission Street Cards brought this up in a recent post that was reposted by Josh. Going back to the question of what makes Josh share something. Well, he shared this. It was about what percentage of super high-end cards are being bought by investors with financial gain as their main motive, rather than collectors who just enjoy the cards. It's frustrating for me because there are a few cards that I like that have been pumped out of control.
Obviously, we don't know the right answer, so I'll start there. But, it feels kind of high. It feels, just kind of like based on what I see and what like my experience in the hobby, it's definitely like pretty high relative to a few years ago. I would say it was like, almost zero when I first started, and now it's definitely, especially when you're talking about like investor groups or investors or companies or whatever buying like a lot of a specific type of card, that can be frustrating because then it sort of, you get brought along in the wake that you didn't necessarily want to be a part of, where the player you collect that's a part of this set, and because you collect that player who may not be like a prolific player, but because he's in the set that keeps getting pumped, like kabooms and stuff, it gets frustrating.
All right. That provides a nice segue into the next question. Next two questions. So this one, I'm going to read both of them at the same time. This one comes from Mostly 90s Basketball Cards. He says, is it ethical for new marketplaces to buy cards off of eBay and re-auction the same cards on their website without disclosing their ownership? And Cards and Candy 911 cuts more to the chase and says, what's up with this whole alt thing? Isn't it normal to buy cheap and then list for more? What do you think?
Why don't you start and I'll jump in with my take after.
Yeah, so let me just try and paint the facts as we know them of this situation. And it's been no secret in the industry that alt, as a company and through its agents, goes on eBay and buys cards and pays strong, which is never upsetting to sellers. Sellers are happy to sell their cards at high prices. And Alt has enough money that they are able to do this sort of systematically. They're able to focus on certain sets and inevitably end up creating a new market for them by the vigorousness with which they target these cards. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, or maybe the better phrase is a virtuous cycle, they might say, where people see the cards going up, they start buying them, they start competing with Alt. Alt is willing to pay more, they're willing to pay more, and prices start going parabolic. So we know this has been a pattern and practice of Alt for a while now. But we had a recent situation that was brought to light by the Twitter account MT&T Trading. I think MT&T Trading 2 actually is the name of the Twitter account. And the account pointed out that in particular, there was an F1 gold Lewis Hamilton card that had been purchased on eBay for around 45 to 50 grand in that ballpark at the end of December. And then it was auctioned on Alt's liquid marketplace at the end of January, and the card sold for 90 grand, I think. I don't believe it was disclosed, as Mostly 90s Basketball Cards points out, who the owner of the card was, which is not a normal practice. No auction house generally lists the consignor, but it is a slightly different situation. If the entity that is doing the consigning is also the owner, it probably would be better to err on the side of disclosing that. The card ends up selling for $90,000. I don't know what value Alt put on it, but Alt does use pricing algorithms that in this case would have been tied to Alt's purchase that Alt made on eBay, and I believe that was not an auction, that was a fixed price listing. The card sells for 90 grand, and then one of the lead investors in Alt posted that, made a tweet that essentially implied he won the card. So it essentially looked like basically one of the main stakeholders in Alt, and Alt being the company that just purchased this card, one of the main stakeholders then turned around and paid twice what Alt paid for it just a month ago to win the card. And then Alt used that sale in its marketing materials to advertise the record high prices that get set on its marketplace. So that was a pretty concrete set of facts that had been unearthed that caused some people to question the propriety of a marketplace buying cards, selling them for twice as much in their own auction just a month later, and the winner of the auction being a major stakeholder in the marketplace itself.
And to be clear, most of their auctions in which they're buying stuff and then re-auctioning on their own platform are taking a loss, like the vast majority of stuff. So this was an outlier. And the reason it became noteworthy was that, the person who won the card, and it happened to be one of the few that sold for more than what they paid for it. I mean, the issue here is that this is like a new thing that's come up that we haven't encountered before, where the auction house themselves are the ones buying up everything and then just like selling their own stuff. It's normally like an individual flipper or seller that does that, on their own, or they do it through eBay, or the auction house just, sticks to consigning for other people. So this is like a new thing, and I'm not sure how the hobby wants to parse that ethically, and I'm not sure how I want to parse that ethically. The biggest issue to me here that I said to you earlier today, Chris, is that you buy the card on eBay and then you use your own algorithm to depict the price that you just paid yourself. So you're basically like saying whatever I just paid is the new value, and then subsequently auctioning it off and then displaying that new value is like attempting to set up a floor price for what you just paid for it, which is fine, right? Like people just, this is like I paid this, my new best offer is higher, I don't want to take a loss. But because you control the price that gets displayed there and you're using algorithms, that part feels unethical to me.
Yeah. And so what are some solutions? Like, I think first and foremost, the best solution here is total and complete transparency, as usual. So in this situation, the community is best served at a bare minimum of knowing if the platform that's selling the card is also the owner of the card. That helps them make informed decisions. That helps them understand a little bit more about how this market came to be, and it helps them decide when they're looking at the pricing algorithm that's determining a price. It helps them decide to what extent they want to put credence into it. And in total fairness, the pricing algorithm that's being used, the methodology of that pricing algorithm should be disclosed as well, and it's not. It's just a black box. So there's a few layers of transparency that can easily start, creating confidence that collectors and buyers on this marketplace are able to fully understand all the inputs that are going into the determination of the price and how this item arrived on the marketplace in the first place. So I think that's a great initial solution. And then also, the big open question here is, who was the second highest bidder on that Hamilton, and what was the thought process behind doubling the last comp? Was it based on the value that was depicted on the site? Because I don't know what it was. What was the thinking there? Who was the second highest bidder? Because that actually matters a lot. If the second highest bidder and the winner it just so happens that they were both competing hard and willing to pay twice what had just been paid for the card, that's a very different world than insert here your nefarious second highest bidder story. So that's an open question. But do you have any solutions for how we might improve this situation?
I mean, the disclosure one is obvious. The other thing to keep in mind is like, the counter argument I've heard is like, well, anyone could just like buy a card and then ask to sell it for more. That's a very usual practice in these marketplaces. The difference, like I said, though, is that this is an actual like large entity that's taken on a substantial amount of money, and they have much more resources to move markets by themselves. And secondly, the reason it came up was that people that collected these Marvel cards were buying these cards for $200 and $300 and completing their sets, and now all of a sudden they have to pay $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 for what used to be $400 cards. Like, how is that even reasonable for those people that collected those sets? And clearly those people just now have to sell everything, and so you're going to see a flood of like Marvel cards come out, and the prices are going to correct just like it does for everything else. But that's the frustrating part for like those individual collectors that are kind of being like forced out of collecting that thing, and I have empathy towards that. The other thing is that Alta's taken on a significant amount of resources and money and capital to grow the business, and they need to start showing growth. They need to start showing revenue, and this is one means to do that, which is just buy stuff, sell it, show the revenue of selling the thing, make the quarterly earnings reports look better. Like, I get it. That's how this game works, but it's frustrating for the collector.
Yeah. So here's an example of what Josh was just talking about. This is the Spider-Man Red PSA 9. This card sold for $450 in October of 2020. And it sold for $72,000 in December of 2021. So, and that's quite the.
Would you consider that to be organic, Christopher?
I don't know what organic even means. If that's organic. Here's the card. They are really cool looking cards. I'll tell you, I've been the researcher who's been adding 2013 Marvel Fleer Retro to Card Ladder, and that's a really cool product. It has jambalaya inserts, it has hardware inserts, it has all our favorite 90s inserts, plus it's got 3 tiers of PMG. It's got red, blue, and green. So it's a really cool product. But from $450 to $72,000, remember, the big sales pitch for collecting characters rather than athletes is that they can't tear an ACL, they can't tear their Achilles, they can't separate their shoulder. Yeah, well, guess what? The flip side of that coin is they can't win MVPs, they can't add championships to their resume. There's nothing dynamic external to their market that's moving their market.
Movies.
So we have movies for sure. There are, that's right. I stand corrected. There are some things that can happen that can increase their market, including more collectors just coming in and starting to like it. But from 44, that's an increase.
We've got Chris's head spinning. Look at him. He's like, what?
That card's gone up over 150x in a year and a few months. 150x.
Well, to be fair, Chris, like we point out these staggering Steph Currys that go up, from 2009 to 2022, and we point out these massive percentage gains. So it's important to understand the context here and the difference between some of these things where Steph Curry, 2009 to now, it's a much bigger, much wider range. Curry's had much more accomplishment, whereas this one's sort of like come out of nowhere, and there hasn't been like a big Spider-Man push. I know that Spider-Man movies came out, but like this whole Marvel thing, it just kind of feels out of nowhere and a little bit forced and manipulated.
Let me put it this way. So, like, let me be the devil's advocate, because it seems like we need one at this moment. Sports cards have been in the news for the past 2 years with COVID. There are a ton of comic book fans and Comic-Con fans, a ton, who all can't go to Comic-Con because of COVID and things like that, and can't go to shows and dress up and have fun the way they have fun. And they see that sports cards are going crazy, and then they find out from their comic book shop that, oh look, there are trading cards of their favorite Marvel characters that look really cool and are like reflections of those sports cards that are even higher in price. So, I mean, like, there could be some organic growth there. Like, so I don't want to say there's no organic growth, but, like, it is one of those things where, like, we need to see more before we make any definitive judgments.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I mean, that's why we started adding them to Card Ladder. Let's keep an eye on it. Let's track it. Let's be accountable to it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, no, there are people who love these cards, and I'll tell you, once I started understanding the product configuration, I was like, yeah, this has all my favorite 90s insert sets, and it's pretty cool. But just for the record, for people who collect the retro PMGs, they are not nearly as nice as the original PMGs. They're not etched hollow foil the way that the original ones are. So, once again, like, there's levels to this. That's all I'm going to say. There's no but to that. There's no but to that.
There are no 97
No, there's not.
Marvel cards,
Right.
though. So, like, and the comic book people who are seeing these cards online have never seen the Jordan or the Kobe in hand.
Right, but
don't know the difference.
But here's the counterpoint to your counterpoint.
Yeah.
If you see a card or an asset or a stock or any item of value go from $450 to $72,000 over the span of 14 months, and you don't cast a skeptical eye on it, your brain doesn't work. So, how about that? You don't have to not like it, but you should initially be skeptical right away. How could something possibly appreciate like that?
Yeah, I want to go back to the retro set. I asked Gene about that at National. I was like, what is your thought on the 2013 Fleer Retro? And she was like literally disgusted with that set because, first of all, like, they just straight up copied her. She didn't create that one.
Right.
And like, she pointed out like the etching, and she pointed out like all the stuff that they had done previous where they like didn't even bring that technology over years later. And in her opinion, they made it worse. They watered it down with like the several different variations of colors. And so the like purist collector does not like that 2013 reprint set, especially for sports, because they're like in college uniforms. There's a lot of different reasons, but like that set traditionally has not been looked upon very kindly. And I know that it's like the first one for Marvel, but like the actual release of it and like the hype around it at the time was really, really low. So, you know, that matters as well.
Yeah, it does. How about this? Stacking Gems says, thank you for including Marvel cards into the Card Ladder app. The community is very excited. You're welcome. And shout out to Stacking Gems. I think for like 3 months or more, he was asking, can you guys please add Card Ladder every week? And we gave in. It was really because of him. It was because of his consistency and his interest in Marvel cards, constantly asking us to do it. So shout out to you, buddy. And we're happy to be tracking this.
Yep. Awesome.
And then there was another one. Lacard James. Lacard James says, Marvel PMGs are having a moment. I love PMGs, but it really bugs me that Upper Deck has released numerous products that essentially copy and paste Arena Design's work. Is Upper Deck hurting the PMG brand? And are they doing a disservice to the hobby by not continuing to innovate?
They're not. They're actually like calling more attention to how it's not as good. And so like, people get upset at reprints, and like the 2016 when I came back, Pokemon released like their 20th anniversary reprint of the initial set, and it was like, oh, they're reprinting this like for the fourth or fifth time, and it's like it's annoying, but it's like it just is like another time in history when it's like a reminder that it's not the original, and it usually brings people back. It's like when they reboot movies, people want to get nostalgia for the original movies and such. It has its pros and cons, but that's definitely a pro that it kind of gets people excited again.
Totally agree. It's definitely a pro, but it is also worth acknowledging that Arena Design pioneered these. And I'm just going to go back to my take from a few minutes ago. The 90s PMGs, the original reds and greens, football and basketball. I don't think baseball had reds and greens, but for the football and basketball PMG reds and greens, like they are much nicer, just from a production technology standpoint, than anything PMG related in the 2010s. And if you see them in hand and can compare them against each other, you will notice it immediately as well.
They have an actual like thickness with the etching, and like the edges of the card actually flake because it's like a real like etched on surface on top of the card. It's very different from the newer ones.
Yep. Stacking Gems points out rightly that Marvel metal, the Fleer metal product, was created for Marvel originally. It was in the 90s. It was the unity of Marvel concepts and themes and designs and sports trading cards that produced these incredible sets. And it's too bad that there aren't any OG PMGs of Marvel characters in the 90s. That's a huge blemish on the resume of Marvel cards, if being completely honest.
When we bought the red Jordan, remember I went back because I remembered my brother like collected Marvel cards from in the 90s. And like I went back and like I was like, I wonder if they made Marvel cards in like a Fleer metal. And unfortunately they didn't. But I did look for them and like try and find that out because I thought that would have been really cool.
Very cool story, Kristen.
And go watch my interview with Jean. She actually talks about that when she designed the Fleer metal sets. She talked about how they were working with like the Marvel team because they had, I forget like how the licensing worked, but they actually like, she shows like old designs where they had the Marvel characters and how they kind of replaced them with the players.
That's incredible.
I will watch it again. I've only seen it like 7 times, but and Chris, thanks for the compliments on my really cool story.
I was wondering if anybody was going to catch that. All right.
I appreciate that. That's so nice of you.
Also, while we're just on the topic, let's just send a shout out to the books, or the comic books, as they say. Another burgeoning space that's doing better in fractional than sports cards are, and is heavily collected. I know I got a few sports card friends who are also into books. So, and I see Nerdy Girl Comics in the chat. So, shout out comic books in general. All right.
That's the only other space, in my opinion, comic books that can like really stand up to cards and be like, we're also a legit collectible. That has a ton of history. It goes back to like those super old, like, first Spider-Mans and first Superman editions. So like comic books definitely have a place in the hobby. So like you said, shout out.
Okay. My Cards, the Hobby says, I like this question. I have a clear answer to it, but My Cards, the Hobby says, the celebrity or the athletes, which has the most long-term appeal? Better stats or more followers?
This like celebrity card thing is very new. I don't know where this came from, but like, why the F would I want a Kim Kardashian auto? She's like, doesn't, like, it's not even like a real, like, cards are meant, they came from sports, like 52 tops and stuff, and like the old, tobacco packs are from the sports athletes. And we've talked about this a million times on the show. The athlete is the modern day superhero. They're the modern day businessman. I think this is a pretty easy answer. I know that's your answer, but I kind of want to hear if you go a different direction with it.
No, it's the same. I'm just sad because like we got my guy Thomas in the chat who says, who's going to be more important in 10 years, Jay-Z or Zion? And we know our guy Josh Luber, our friend at Fanatics, collects Kim Kardashian autos. So I would love to just be able to shit on something and just not offend anybody, but it's never going to work out that way, is it?
I'm going to offend Josh for a second.
because I think it's really brave to collect a person who is famous for being friends with famous people and for having a sex tape that her mom released of her. So.
Oh, that's right. So Christina's going to the core of the issue. Why even would you want to? Why is she famous in the first place? All right.
Why indeed?
But yeah, I mean,
she has no real talents.
yeah. So I'm going with stats and athletic performance here. Those are things that can't change with the whims of society, and they're records that I take comfort in. So I'm going with the athlete and the stats over the celebrity and the pop culture appeal. I mean, what more do you need to know? I collect Christian McCaffrey.
Plus the other one that I want to relate it back to like the you can't tear an ACL. Sports has this like unscripted drama where we don't know what's going to happen, so we like to bet on the unknown. Whereas celebrities, we know they're going to make movies, they're going to get followers, they're going to make tweets, and they're going to, post pictures of them wearing, less clothing than the normal person. We get it. We've seen the playbook. Sports is totally unscripted. We don't know what's going to happen.
Well said. All right, let's move on. Fun question. No right answer to these questions, by the way. Please don't be upset at us. Mike Pinkerton 50 says, will eBay's new authentication service reduce the cards sold on eBay? Have you seen any of the social media posts or stories and stuff that have come out, kind of people showing cards that they bought off of eBay?
Yeah, but I haven't seen like a definitive, how much extra time it takes or whatever yet.
Yeah, I've seen a few as well. So the poll said that I ran on my story said 56% of people said, yes, this is going to reduce the number of cards sold on eBay. What do you think? Is this reducing the amount of cards that you buy on eBay?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't really care to wait an extra week. It's really hard to like judge the ripple effects of this. That just seems like it's a few layers away from where we are today. So it's hard to say, but like, I guess, logically it seems like there would be less purchases because there's more wait time. Just, realistically, if the cards are moving slower, they're going to sell less often.
Yeah, it's a great point. And so this kind of ultimately, when this system gets implemented across the board, it's going to remove overnight shipping. You will no longer be able to overnight buy items on eBay, which seemed like a small deal, but actually is kind of a big deal to me. I love that, the ability to buy a big card and then get it next day or next 2 or 3 days. But I've also heard that it's moving very quickly. The turnaround times are super fast. Stuff lands with eBay and they're processing it. And I've seen videos that makes it look really cool. The product and the packaging and stuff comes in an awesome box. But then people are also concerned because eBay's taking the cards out of their holder. These are not graded. This is only raw cards right now, over $750. But eBay's taking them out of their holder, inspecting them, and then putting them into a new case. Well, it's not eBay, it's their third-party authenticator. And some people are a little bit worried about that. They're a little bit worried about their card being handled by somebody other than themselves. But, one of the guys, Chris from the Northeast, he not Cardi C, but a different fellow, he said he bought a PMG and he was like, look, they authenticated it. It looks pretty cool. He was like, I was going to grade it. Maybe now I'm not going to. I'll just keep it in this authenticated slab from eBay. So I don't know. I think we have to just kind of see how it plays out.
Yeah. I mean, credit to them on this front where they made the announcement and we're already seeing it in practice. Nothing annoys me more than saying, we're coming out with this new thing and then we don't even hear about it for 7 months. It's like, at least it's out and we're actually seeing it, right? It's actually real and we can actually start to judge it much quicker. And it sounds like if they're able to turn around, eBay is so big, dude, we just can't quite discount them yet to say they can't do something in a day because they have almost infinite resources for something like this.
Yep, I agree with that. That was a thought that occurred to me as well. Props to them for saying they were going to do it, then immediately doing it, and seemingly executing it exactly how they said they would execute it.
I mean, that's is it sad that very simple bar is excites us now?
Yes. What's up, Mike? Mike is not pleased that I appeared on Sports Card Nonsense looking like a bum, and now I'm clean shaven for Josh tonight. And our guest, our special guest. Shout out, Mike. Check out Sports Card Nonsense. This is Sports Cards Nonsense podcast this week.
You know what? Mike gave me specific instructions about what you were supposed to wear, but he never said you had to get a haircut before appearing.
Maybe he just assumed.
So he should be more specific next time that he gives orders to his guests about what they should wear and how they should look.
You can't blame him for me showing up unkempt.
And Chris, I'm not going to forget the statement you made about cutting off your sleeves or like cutting your sleeves. So you're gonna have to deliver on that one.
All right, let's go. South Park Cards 2 said, should we be worried about CSG not being ready or prepared to do all of eBay's authentication? It's a guaranteed 2-day turnaround time.
Yeah, that's the part that's still confusing to me. Are they doing that with the raw? Like CSG's taking in the raw already? How is that? How's that happening?
No idea.
I would guess that like eBay is supplying them with like employees to help, right? I just can't imagine like CSG could all of a sudden take on the volume of eBay. That doesn't make any sense.
Nah, so it is something to keep an eye on, is how will the volume be handled here?
And the weirdest part is like CSG is going to be grading PSA cards, or like that part. It's not happening now, but that part is very awkward to me. Well, I guess, like I said, we'll just kind of wait and see. But that one feels like maybe a bit of a bottleneck right there.
Yeah. Gem Class says, with MySlabs getting into raw cards, do you guys think that they will do well and maybe even take some fallout business from eBay considering the new authentication process?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, any like misstep that eBay makes here, MySlabs is ready to catch that. And obviously, like very well timed on the release of this feature from MySlabs. And we know those guys. We know them pretty well. And I have faith that anything that they're going to do, they're going to be a leader in. They're going to execute it. They're going to do what they say. They're going to hold people accountable to it. If there's any mistakes, they're going to fix them. Like, these are just things we've come to expect from MySlabs and the people that work there. And they take it very, very seriously, and they're hobby people. Everyone that works at MySlabs in the hobby, I don't know how much more glowing of a recommendation I could possibly give to those guys. So.
That's the nicest thing Josh has ever said about anybody, for the record.
Yeah. I would echo everything and ditto everything Josh just said.
We're gonna need to get a third camera.
I was just thinking, like, if it was up there, then I could work and then just chime in when necessary. But I have to chime in extra today because I was told I wasn't allowed to chime in at all on crossover today. So
Somehow
that's why I'm being a little bit extra.
Thanks, Chris.
Whoa! Joshua Lee!
I'm going to say something nice about MySlabs briefly as well. Those guys, shout out to David Owens and Matt. We answered one question about halfway through the crossover last week about MySlabs Raw marketplace that's forthcoming and should be launching according to them in maybe about a week. And they set up a call with us to explain how the whole thing works and share their passion for this project off the strength of one question being asked to us on the crossover. These are guys who love their products, who truly believe in it. And even for the one soul out there who haven't asked a question and then we shared it with our audience, they wanted to make sure that we got it right and that their product was, that we knew everything about their product that they wanted us to know. So that's dedication, and I can praise that. I can't say enough good things about that.
You just love to see it.
You love to see it. All right. Warren Bucket Cards says, why are there rare inserts with missing serial numbers? How does that happen? And so I'll give an example. So this is the 1997 Finest Refractors test. Not embossed, not die cut, not serial numbered. This card should have right down here. This card should have out of 74 right down here. It doesn't have it. So, Josh, how did this come to be? How do we have these test copies on the market of these types of cards?
So this is because of the bankruptcy that occurred from Fleer. So Fleer went out of business, I believe, in 1990. What is this, 99? We're talking about 2000, and they had copies of these cards that were like halfway through the stages of being printed and completed and packed, and so they didn't get through it. So when the bankruptcy occurred, that stuff was like, you know, obviously taken out, and it was never put into circulation through the proper routes. So it's been acquired through different random means. Some people are getting like sheets of this stuff. Some people are getting the, you know, the unserial numbered copies and stuff, and they're cutting the sheets. So I want to be very clear. I'm looking at the camera here, because I usually don't. This is not something the hobby wants. Do not try to make these, you know, backdoor copies, this bankruptcy stuff. Do not try to make this a thing. Do not try to say they're undervalued. This is not something that is intended to be part of the hobby, and it should be treated as such. These are not the same cards. They should not have even a fraction of the value of the originals, because they do not stand to the principles and framework of how the hobby works. And I just want to make sure that people don't try to like pick this ball and run with it, because, you know, we've seen like, oh, a custom card's kind of cool. It's the same thing as custom cards, in my opinion. It's the same sort of like lane. You need to take it seriously and make sure that you are like, there was the Slam Bams had some of these, and I've been waiting for a Slam Bams forever. And unnumbered Slam Bams came up, and Nat is also after that card for Penny. So he messages me like, hey, let's figure out who's buying this thing. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, well, I'm going to bid hard on the Slam Bams. I'm like, go for it, dude. It's the unserial numbered. He literally was like, oh, never mind. Remove from watch list, delete, don't care. Like, literally, I would rather not have the card than have the unserial numbered fake copy. No go.
Same here, buddy. I don't have a use in the world for those cards. It's just not, it was never intended to be. So there is some little novelty to them, but if I don't want the real thing, I don't want the halfway.
You can't get the real thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, people, I'll correct myself a little bit. People can collect them and like make them a thing for themselves. The thing I'm talking about is I do not want to make it where like, hey, you know, the influencers should get together and like make a big hype push for these, because they're actually more rare and like they're more collectible. And I don't want you to be spreading misinformation, because at large, the hobby does not value that as like nearly as much.
Yep. And Josh actually covered all of it. There's nothing to add. That was great points there. There was another question this week that I should have put together with this one, which, well, whatever. If we get to it, we get to it. All right. Card Shop Dad says, what's the card you don't own that you've spent the most time thinking about?
The Luca Nebula.
I mean, probably just like the Gem Master, Penny Hardaway, 98.
Funny you mention that. We do have a question about Gem Masters. Christina, the Luca Nebula?
I covet that card way too hard.
Huh. Yeah. You know, my answer is the stupid frickin' McCaffrey Prism Black 1 of 1. Because you know what I hate about it? I don't covet like the Luca Nebula or the Jordan PMG Green. I don't get overly concerned about those cards because like they're out of my league. But the Prism Black McCaffrey's in my league. That card is in my freaking league, baby. And the fact that I can't land that card is a problem. All right. And that's why I think about it more than a Jordan PMG Green or something like that. All right, JGB45 says, what's one card or set from the 90s that gets a lot of love, but that you feel is overrated? And this is prompted by somebody asking me to explain why Jordan Jambalaya is so sought after.
I've brought this one up a few times, but the Playmakers Theater I think is incredibly overrated. I think they're very bland, and I don't like the cards. They're numbered to 100, so they're not like overly rare either. I love those ones. I do not. I also don't really like the Star Quest Gold. Sorry, Chris. I think those are like extremely plain, and it's like they're not even like a shiny gold. It's just like a flat. I don't like a lot of those upper deck ones. Those upper deck cards are not my favorite.
No, I'm happy to hear that because I was close to getting a Star Quest Gold, but didn't quite get it. So I hate Star Quest Gold. Hate Playmakers Theater. Don't own any of those either.
Got your back, buddy.
Here, this is my answer to this question. Go to my Michael Jordan collection in Card Letter Showcase, and any of the ones I don't have, those all suck. And they're overrated, and they're
Really? You don't like Rubies or PMG Championship? Man, okay.
garbage. All of it's super overrated. All right.
I don't get why you, I mean, it might be like a, like a fun thing to be like, Jambalaya is overrated. I don't understand that one. That's just like, that's such a great set. But
Yeah,
that's
hating on
obviously-
Jambalaya was way out of left field. I was like, what? People hate this card? Since when?
Go to the gold vinyl Nebula question. You're gonna like my answer.
Oh, good. All right. This is from Bree Stokes. Gold vinyl 1 of 1 or Nebula 1 of 1? Which has the better long-term value? And the poll result was 54% in favor of gold vinyl.
The answer is Nebula, and here's why. It's a good answer. I'm really proud of myself because I don't know much about this stuff, but I know this. Gold vinyl used to be at a 5, and I think for Prism it's at a 5, but Optic it's at a 1. There's like an autographed gold vinyl. It's a little bit confusing, and I think that might not be good for the 1 of 1 status of it going forward. And the Nebula is always 1 of 1. It's consistent. We can count on it. It's 1 of 1 in Optic. It's 1 of 1 in Prism. People are starting to really enjoy that part of it, that it is pretty different, and vinyl's a little more confusing.
Good points.
Great answer, Josh.
I'm right there with you, man. I will add a little bit of color to that. I am aware of a Nebula out of 2 from 2020 Contenders Optic Football. So that sucks. I hate that. I really, really hate that. I hate that Prism has a gold vinyl that's out of 5, whereas Optics is out of 1. The Optic one is awesome. The Prism one, I could care less. I could care less. I'll take the true Prism Gold out of 10, or I'll take the Prism Black Fine out of the Black out of 1, and then for gold vinyl, I'm going to Optic. Going to the 1 of 1 from Optic. Which one has better long-term value? Can you go wrong? Can you go wrong with the 1 of 1 from a premium product whether it's gold vinyl or Nebula? I think that's like asking, what do you like better, apples or bananas? Because I alternate between them every day. One day apple, next day banana. Isn't that right, Christina? Oh, now she's quiet.
You're just so weird sometimes.
Hey, Christina, remember that time I ate an apple and then a banana? I was like, yeah.
No, you guys
Every
aren't
day for
listening.
breakfast, I have granola and either an apple.
Oh, we know what you're
or a
saying.
banana.
You're not listening. I alternate because I like them both the same.
You do not alternate every day. That is bullshit. If there are bananas, you eat bananas. If there are no bananas, you eat apples. There's a difference.
Damn,
Yeah,
got me.
you called me out for being quiet. That's
Yeah,
I'm
so
quiet.
one day you say Kaboom is dumb, the next day you're buying Kabooms. We don't know what to believe with this guy. You know, like, he's not trustworthy.
Everything out of your mouth is a lie.
I believe the dignified description of that is changing my mind in light of new evidence.
It's called flip flopping.
All right.
Called. Yeah, go ahead. I'm done.
We should have asked this question to Kevin. I wonder what his answer would have been. From Sweat47, am I crazy for wanting to try and cross a BGS 10 to a PSA 10? My collection for this player is only in PSA holders. I'm so anal about consistency in my collection. Having a BGS slab card is driving me crazy. This is not a shot at BGS. I have other BGS graded cards for other players, but I'm curious, what factors would you consider in making this decision?
Who asked this question?
Sweat,
What's their handle?
Sweat 47.
Sweat 47. You're speaking my love language, buddy. This
I-
is right up my alley.
I knew you'd like this question.
Cross that motherfucker. Do it. Oh my god. It's honestly like giving me anxiety knowing that somewhere out there's a BGS 10 amongst these other beautifully curated PSA 10 collections. Get it out of there. I'm not just a PSA hype boy because I work for Collectors Universe. I'm with you on the anal consistency part. Go.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. Obviously, I'm keeping it as a BGS 10. It's a higher technical grade. 9.5 is gem mints, PSA 10 is gem mints, BGS 10 is a pristine. It's a higher technical grade. I would say the same thing if it was an SGC pristine as well. It's more rare. It's a higher technical grade. But I don't mind having some BGS and some PSA. But my whole PC is a conglomerate of all of those. All right.
Melting pot. It's like America. Your collection is America.
Yeah, you're right. Melting pot of grading company.
Melting pot.
Well, actually, I discriminate against all slabs that are not BGS or PSA. So, not the ultimate melting pot. I could stand to have a lot more different slabs. I only stick to PSA and BGS.
It's more of a 2-ingredient soup.
A 2-ingredient soup, exactly. All right. All right. Nas Productions says, "What sets do you or have you collected? What sets?"
Oh, none. Not a single one.
Not a single one.
No, okay, that's a lie. I started going down the Galactic set, and then I got bored of it like a weekend and gave up. So there you go, Galactic for like a week. I think I had like 12 of them.
As a consequence of opening a lot of product, Christina and I have put together probably 36 2018 Prism base sets. We put together even
Also
more.
a silver set and a pink cracked ice set.
Oh, that's right. Christina was trying to put together a Prism pink ice set 1 card by 1 by pulling them and trading for them and stuff. And I just went on eBay and I just bought a Prism pink ice set for like.
Bought the entire set. I was like, I'm gonna build this set, and he was like, okay. And then 2 days later, the entire set arrives, and he's like, I bought it for you.
Yeah.
I don't think that counts.
It
doesn't
doesn't
count. That's what I said.
But I paid like $180 for it. It was the good old days. Yeah, so we built a bunch of sets. Too many to count.
And
Too
that
many
was
to
from
recount.
2018 alone.
All right. Bruin Cards says, "What Panini inserts would get more love?" Oh, no, I'm sorry. He says, "Would Panini inserts get more love if they publish the pack odds? Yes or no?"
Yeah, probably.
Or do you agree with this? PSA equals apples, BGS equals bananas.
I like bananas better than apples, so no, it's the opposite for me.
All right, Corner Taken Quickly says, "Do you think it is unprofessional or a conflict of interest for auction houses to speculate on prices, especially when the speculation involves players and cards that are currently up for auction?"
I would prefer they don't. You know, like I can't like point to anything really that's like a strong case for it being unethical or illegal or anything like that. So I just would prefer they not do that, because I don't really like the bias of, someone telling me what they think this is going to sell for, and it like influencing someone that I might be bidding against if I, reduces my chances of winning the cards, etc. So I just prefer not to, especially if you're not going to tell me how you arrived at that number.
I've got nothing to add to that. I agree. MJA 3415 Red says, "Name a card that has all the right traits on paper, but it is ruined by an odd photograph." My choice, the writer of the question says, is the 1995 Hollow View Michael Jordan.
Oh, the face, the like weird face on.
Yes, so let me show that card. This is the die cut version, but it's the same looking card. This one.
Wait, what's wrong with that?
I don't know which
That's
one.
not the
Like,
one.
I thought you meant the face because there's 4 faces and like.
No. He's talking about the one with the pink background where like his face is all like deformed.
Oh, well, that's, yeah, hold on, let me pull that up. That's called the Hoop Sky View. Not Hollow View, that's called Sky View.
That Hollow View is awesome. That's one of my favorite ones. It's like a sweet. I like the back. I like the hologram photos. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought he meant that one. It's like a weird one.
Yeah, it doesn't
Looks like an alien, man. That's weird.
Yeah. Yep. You're totally right. That's definitely the one that he was referring to. But he called it the Hollow View. So I
thought of that card even before he said his answer. I'm like, that weird Jordan pink one.
It's a good.
The 2012 Prism LeBron has always bothered me because it's like, it's like this massive set now, and everyone wants 2012 Prism. It's like this, set made by God himself and stuff. And so the LeBron photo is just really lame. It's like in the NBA Finals, and he's just like standing there. That bothers me.
Really? You're not a fan of this. Let me pull it up so we can all just look at it together.
He's not even like passing, right? He's just like literally just standing there. Oh, wow. What a great action shot. Really good job. NBA Finals. That's in the NBA Finals right there. You see the little patch on his jersey?
Yeah, but isn't
That one?
Yes.
Lucky guess.
I don't know. I know there's like other players in the set that have cooler photos. The LeBron one just bothers me. I couldn't think of anything else really.
Nothing wrong with that. Oh, the Zion Optic is a classic.
Oh yeah.
That one?
Yeah. Oh dude, yeah. Here, ready?
There it is.
That is the most awkward.
His teddy bear pose.
That is so bad. Whatever photographer asked him to do that. Oh my gosh.
Well, it's one thing to take the picture; it's another to use it for his, his key optic.
Maybe they didn't ask him to do it. Maybe he did it himself.
He said, "I know. I want my optic rookie card to look like this."
They're like, work it. He's just like going through all it. They're like, keep going. And he's like, oh yeah.
Well, you win some, you win most, but you still lose a few. Did you have one?
I don't like Luca's Prism.
You don't like Lucas Prism?
The armpit one.
Oh, the autograph one?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, his one is cool.
No, the armpit.
Yeah, all right, I'm getting it.
I forgot about the armpit. That's a good one. Yeah, that's no bueno.
Not like what? Like why? Yeah.
All right. Well, there we just dumped on a bunch of cards.
It looks like he's going up for a dunk, but his feet aren't off the ground. It just looks very unnatural of a motion.
I'm sure he wasn't jumping. It was just a
Yeah, just like, oh, like that, yeah, jumping. Like your arms wouldn't even do that because you'd be in the air. Gravity would be pulling you down.
All right. SAJC Cards says, in an increasingly fractured hobby where rare items fetch all-time highs while more common ones crash down. Oh, has Card Ladder considered updating their headlines to feature both the good and the bad?
We're starting to get like this set of questions that we get every week. That one's joining the mix.
So I guess if enough people ask it, they must be onto something. But I'm going to hold firm like a stick in the mud and say, no, sir. I know a lot of you guys out there are investors and you want opportunities and you get a weird thrill out of seeing card values go down. But the content that we're curating for the feed is surrounding positive headlines.
You can find it though on dashboard. If you scroll down to biggest fallers, you can find that information.
Yep, you sure.
Yeah, just go to the ladder and sort reverse. Like pick your favorite sort and just turn that baby upside down and neg all those cards to your heart's content.
That's right. And you know what else? If you make content about it, Card Ladder will reshare it to its story.
Do you remember, like, it was probably, let's say, obviously, like a year ago, where we were on the crossover every Friday. We would just look at graphs, and just like, guys, this base stuff does not make any sense. Stop the madness. We were getting so desperate. We were showing people other cards they could start to look at that weren't base PSA 10s. We were showing all these graphs. Guys, do not do it. This is a total scam. Don't buy it. And then, the middle finger content started coming up, and then we started doing like the zig and zag stuff because everyone was buying base. Like we got a lot of good content out of that.
Somebody out there should go piece together like a greatest hits from all those old crossovers. Well, what's the bounty on doing something like that? A lifetime free membership if you make like a really good like collage of some of the call outs over the years. All right. I don't know. Do I have the authority to do that? I don't know.
No, but I did.
I'll just ask Nick. Let's just ask Nick. He's got so much free time. We might as well just like have him.
All right. Let's go on to Northwoods Card Collector. What is the biggest collective change in thinking that you've seen in the hobby coming out of the 2020 and the 2021 surge? For example, base cards were hot and now they're not, and everyone finally realized they're just base cards.
That's a good one. I have another one that's kind of creative. It's not like the most, it's probably not the right answer, but I think it's a good topic. People critically thinking for themselves and like like actively questioning content creators and what they're saying and holding them accountable to it. I feel like there's been a lot of that. A lot of people have started to call out specific content creators. I won't name names, but I've enjoyed that greatly, to know that people are starting to. I think that's kind of the next evolution of part of like growing in the hobby, is that you no longer need to listen to what other people tell you to do. You can start to like formulate your own opinions. And then once you've gathered all that research, you start to notice like, why does these content creators keep saying the same thing over and over when I know, I've done the research, that's not the correct thing to be saying. And so I've enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Yeah, don't name names. You might get sued by armies of lawyers.
What do you got, Chris? You got anything?
No, I really don't. I don't. I really don't. I wish I had something better. I'm just going to let your answer carry that question. Drake's PC says, according to the Card Ladder Index, football is up 161% over the last year. Baseball's up 91%. Basketball is only up 44%. So other than all the indices being up, what kind of conclusions do you draw from this? So to recap, football up 161%, baseball 91%, basketball only 44% over the last year.
The conclusion that I draw is that the gap between those two was just too wide, and it didn't make much sense. And it's closed because, and we talked about football a lot, like a year ago, like, it's the most watched sport, and it's got like the superstars, like quarterback, it's got all the different pieces and fundamentals that like guide sports cards, so it makes sense. And then, after football started taking off, people are pointing to that stuff as like the reason it's taking off. And I don't know, just it was probably like a little bit too cheap relative to basketball, but I'm sure like now that this has gone on, I'm sure we'll see kind of like a little bit of a correction back the other way, where basketball will start to go up and football will go down. So
yeah, and there's also a bit of market segmentation as well, because while it is true that like on the whole basketball is only up 44%, this card is currently for sale with Golden. This is John Morant's NT RPA out of 99, a BGS 9.5, and these were tough to grade. I don't think the population is super high on these. I could be wrong about that, to be honest with you. But this card right now is at $228,000 with the buyer's premium. $220,000.
oh my god,
So there still is like in his comp,
my God.
maybe it's Joe Burrow, maybe it's Justin Herbert. Like he's still like basketball's young, budding. This guy's next up guy is like still worth way more than football's.
Yeah, that's a really great call out, because I didn't even know, like, we know Burrow stuff's going crazy, Herbert, but like still John Morant is like 3x. That's a really interesting call out.
But on Prism base, Joe Burrow is 3x Morant. But you have to look at market cap and stuff. Yeah.
Yep, there you go. The football Prism is quite a bit more rare.
Yeah, exactly. So these markets are still figuring themselves out. But, also there's just an energy with football cards right now. And I think it's tied to the fact that the regular season and the playoffs this year have been amazing. There's just an energy with football right now that none of the other sports have. So
For now.
Yeah. What happens when the Super Bowl's over and everybody is focused on basketball again? Maybe those numbers start to get a little closer, those percentage growths.
Last year's NBA playoffs were a little bit down in excitement relative to what it could have been with all the injuries and stuff. And football, like you said, was just like almost like, I don't even know if we could have like scripted it any better than it was. It's just like, it's so perfect. The games were like, we could not have wrote on paper what we wanted to happen from that Bills Chiefs game, and it been better than what actually happened. It was insane. And the game before, I was like, oh my God, how are we getting all these games?
So, dude, we were so spoiled by playoff football this year. It's never going to be that good again.
Well, when we had watched all those amazing division games, and you texted me, you're like, yeah, but there's one more to go, and it's the best one. I'm like, don't fucking jinx it, Chris. It's like a 42-0 blowout now, and it ended up being the best game anyways.
It sure did. You even overcame the hex. Okay. What do you want to do, man? We've been going for 2 hours. I know you got an early morning commitment. So what do you want to do?
How many questions do we have left? Jeez. Let me get a drink of water. Take an easy one. Let me get a drink, and let's keep going.
All right. Will not give that. I will not answer that question because that involves Josh. Okay, this one from Cards and Candy 911 I'll take. As the owner of several, of actually a buttload of Prism Golds. The question from Cards and Candy 911 is Prism Golds out of 10. Out of those 10, how many do you think will be locked away by a true collector? You know, great question. The point of this question was kind of to illustrate, like, maybe the true number of available copies is way less than 10 even, and that you have to kind of take that in consideration when you're looking at circulation and how many are available. So I don't know, man. I can tell you this. I want to get as many Prism Golds as I can of my favorite players that I collect, and if I could, I'd own all 10 of every single one they've got. So
I think that the answer is 4. I think that if 4 find their way into the home of collectors, and like not the same collector, like different collectors, like those 4 would be locked away.
Makes sense.
And then like there would then be 6 that would be like transactionable.
Yep. And then that's a good point. And then Cards and Candy 911 follows up and says, should Fanatics bump up the true golds to like 25 or 50 copies?
No.
Yeah, the answer to that is Josh says yes. I say no because you know what? You wouldn't want them as much if they were numbered to 25 or 50. Part of the allure of it is that there are, in fact, only 10.
I disagree.
Okay. Boulevard of Cards says...
Oh yeah, how come nobody has asked where the Trulies are? People that never came up once.
Never came up once. But maybe because we started so serious with very big topics.
I just wanted to point out that I am a responsible adult, and when I have something to do in the morning, I do not drink the night before.
He even dropped a little fact on you guys, or a little clue. He was like, I'm going to get water. Seeing if anybody would catch on.
Hydration.
Nice. All right. Boulevard of Cards says, if you are an NBA GM, how would you build your team? Oh, shout out Jose. He tagged Truly. Is it a ball-dominant playmaker? Is it the one-on-one scoring monster? Is it the dominant big man? How would you build your team?
The two-way wing player, you know, the LeBron, Kawhi, Paul George, prototypical wing player.
Yeah, makes sense.
Come on now. Don't lie, Christopher.
Don't lie about what?
You would pick the Luka. You wouldn't pick the LeBron.
No, I would pick
The Jaw. That's right. You would pick the Jaw.
Well, the Grizzlies, I do like what that team has because they've got so many different ways to attack you. And they've got so many different levels that they can score at. I like, when the Mavericks didn't have Luka, they were a totally different team. My guy Frank Ntilikina was shining. The ball was moving, and it's just a different style of game. So like I would love to root for a team that it brings a well-balanced attack that has 5 different guys, kind of like what the Clippers were last year before they got hurt, where Reggie Jackson, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Zubats, like Nicholas Batum, like any one of those guys could pretty much carve you up. I'd love to have like one of those 5 wing rosters where we usually have 5 guys who are between 6'6" and 6'9", and they're all wings, and they're all 3-and-D style players. I'd love that. I'd love to have that type of roster.
And if you like a classic point guard, center, shooting guard, the Suns are like the most prototypical starting 5 in the league right now, in my opinion. Like they just kind of have that like perfect symmetry across the board.
Yeah. Now, if I'm not a GM and I'm a fan, I want to root for that ball dominant 35+% usage rate player, whether that's Embiid or whether that's Jokic, whether that's Luka, whether that's LeBron, whether that's Harden, even whether it's Westbrook. Those are the most fun type of players to root for because there's never a dull moment. They are always dominating the game. So, like, as a fan, that's my answer. As a GM, I think the Clippers have put together a really good recipe, but they just haven't been healthy. So, all right. Khalil the Hokage. Topic idea. following top level card accounts for inspiration.
They're asking us to pick out some.
No, I don't think so. Maybe just talking about the topic of like going and finding collectors to inspire you.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's great. I mean, I usually go to like player collectors for something like that. You know, when I'm trying to like join a new venture, I'll go straight to Instagram and start searching out the player collectors of that player, and you usually get a lot of great ideas of like what are kind of the sets that people are after, what are the different like parallels and years and stuff, like what are the best rookie cards, stuff like that. So yeah, definitely.
Yep. The only thing that I take umbrage with here is that it does not need to be a quote unquote top level collector. It can be somebody who's, you know, collecting cards on a budget. One of my favorite discoveries, I'm not saying that these cards are on a budget because they're not, but one of my favorite page discoveries was the Matthew Stafford collector earlier this year, who had all of his Prism Blacks, all of his gold vinyls, his Topps Chrome Superfractors. He had all of it. And that like inspired me a ton for the type of McCaffrey collection that I want to put together.
Yep, no doubt.
All right, TJ Bove. What is the best methodology for valuing 90s one-of-ones, such as Gem Masters? 90s one-of-ones.
Shout out, Tommy.
Why don't you take that one, man?
Dude, I don't know. I own no 90s one-of-ones. I wouldn't even know where to begin trying to value one of those. They're so rare. Like in the Panini era, you've got one-of-ones from lots of different products. You can sort of start constructing multipliers between the gold to the one-of-ones from the different products. Yeah. Like there's a lot more data to look at and think about. For 90s one-of-ones, if a Gem Masters Michael Jordan comes up, you better be ready to spend millions on it.
Yeah, I've heard like through several people that are in that space, like a common player one-of-one from the 90s, like whether it's a player showcase or it's a or like a Gem Master, they're usually like 2 to 5K like out the door just to get any one of those 90s one-of-ones, usually like closer to like 2 to 3K, and then you just sort of like level up based on the player from there. So I don't know if that's like about as good of a mathematical answer as you're going to get for something like that. So it levels up quickly though. You know, you move to the tiers of like the 90s stars, you get to like the Barclays and the Ewings, and then you get to the, you know, like the Grant Hills and the Pennies and the Duncans and Iversons, and then you work your way up to Kobe and Jordan. It gets exponential very quickly. The Jordans, any type of one-on-one Jordan 90s, like forget about it. Like first of all, you're not going to be able to find it, but you know, millions.
Right on. So how many 1998 Gem Masters do you think are on eBay right now?
100, dude. They get bought. The more interesting question is how many have sold on our sales history feature in the last like 20 years.
Because there are none on eBay right now. Like to me, like you had like if your Gem Masters, if your player comes up, you fucking pay whatever it takes to get that card.
Yeah, you said when you were like, oh, the McCaffrey is in my league. I think that the Penny Hardaway Gem Master is in my league, but I'm not sure.
Dude, what's the PMG green worth roughly? It's a 6-figure card, right?
Yeah, but I mean, actually, there's like a pretty like long debate about like, is the PMG green or the Gem Master worth more on like the non-Michael Jordan card?
Yes.
It's an interesting debate. I think the Gem Master wins, but not by as much as you might think. So like to just say like, oh, it's like 5x the PMG green is a little bit much, because the PMG green just has like so much weight behind it, and the Gem Master is a little bit more of a niche kind of thing. But like that's the only one where I was like, I can remember that card coming up. I remember it moving hands a couple times, and it's like, God, that card is so amazing. If anyone ever finds the penny, I need to do my little, you know, silly bounty post.
Bounty, baby. Put the bounty out.
Because I don't even know that. I definitely don't know where it is. I've seen a fake of it come to my door, and the guy tried to sell it to me way too cheap, and I was like, this can't be real. And it was fake, but I would do very weird things to get the Penny Hardaway of that card. You don't want to know.
Oh, Josh.
I'm showing on the screen right now the 1998 Metal Universe Gem Masters 1-of-1 Barclay. It's the highest selling one in Card Ladder sales history, and it sold for 15 grand in July of 2020. Card Ladder puts an estimated value on it of about 30 grand. But the fact that that's the highest selling one is not evidence that they're cheap. It's evidence of the fact that these cards just do not sell ever.
Like, dude, look at this one. Do you know who Charlie Garner is?
What did you say? It got muffled a little bit.
Do you know who Charlie Garner is?
Yeah, I actually do remember him, but I shouldn't, right? He's very obscure.
$2,500.
Yeah. Dude, those are really those are awesome. Dude, if there was one on eBay, and it was like a few grand, I would buy it right now just for the content.
You don't want to know what unthinkable things I would do to get the penny? Look at that thing. 15 grand? Dude, if someone offered me the penny for 15 grand, I would fucking just celebrate for days.
I'm looking on Card Ladder's shop now to see if there's any Gem Masters.
Dude, there's like no sales in our database of Gem Masters. Like, just good luck. That Barkley is the only one.
There are no Gem Masters, like pretty much. If there's none on eBay and there's none in Card Ladder's shop feature, there are no Gem Masters for sale online right now. None.
I don't even, and the other thing is that like Nat doesn't even have that many of them. I know he has a few, but like that set is just like he doesn't have that many of them. It's just a really hard card, and it's like and there's only one. So like the Penny Hardaway Gem Master, I'd obviously like have to compete for it, but it's like if you think you're the best Penny Hardaway collector, you gotta get it. You gotta go balls to the wall. You gotta get it. You know.
Yep, I do know.
Things. That's what you gotta do.
What are the unspeakable things?
Oh, I don't know. I would sell stuff that you would like. You'd like, why are you or trade? You know, I'd trade something where you'd be like, why are you trading that? What are you doing?
See, you know what yes, good. All right. One of the coolest 90s one-of-ones to ever sell publicly sold last year. This is the 97-98 Flair Showcase, a second-year Kobe. Masterpieces of the Row 1, the original inspiration for what would become the Shimmer parallel. And it sold for $134,000 in May of 2021.
I was offered like a row 2 from a random year of Penny Hardaway 101 for like $8 grand a couple years ago, and I was like, I'm just not into like, because then it's like, you know, why am I getting this one over the other ones? And it just, I couldn't like make the case for myself.
I'm looking at other one-of-ones and or masterpieces. Nat has the Jordan 97-98 Flair Showcase. Maybe has one or two of the masterpiece Jordan, the purple.
All of them, I think. He has all of them.
Carvin,
dude, I'll find
it out in the chat.
Go to something else. I'll find it.
Trading Card Brothers. This comment pissed a lot of people off when I shared it to my story. Nice job, Trading Card Brothers. They say, is it safe to say that the 2021-22 NBA rookie class is the worst in the last 5 years?
Wait, the one we're in right now? Sorry.
Yeah. Yep. This current rookie class. Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley,
I think so.
Green.
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, there's a basis to make this observation, but like, it's early. It's really early. It's super early to tell. But dude, maybe it's more just like, it's not just that like this year's class is like bad. It's that we've been totally spoiled with classes that plausibly have generational talents in at least 3 of the last 5 classes.
You also get like a lot of the complaints are people don't know who the rookies are this year, and part of that is
that's because their cards didn't come out.
Yeah, there's no product.
We would be thinking much more highly of these rookies if we could see what their Prism Silvers were selling for.
Exactly.
And then, like,
If you
you
wanna-
also think, like, you have to wait for the All-Star game for the rookie class.
True.
So,
Good
like,
point.
unless you're watching a team that has, like, an awesome rookie on it, you're
Yeah.
not really paying attention to them.
All right. What do we have here?
If you want to just get sick and realize how pathetic you are and how bad your collection is, just go to Nat's Flickr and just oh my god, what is happening? Look at these, every card is just a monster. Okay, here you go. So here's one of them.
Ridiculous.
Oh, he's got this guy. There's another one. The noise. That's the noise of a collector that's jealous. Look at that thing, dude. He also has the purple one, the purple
Yeah, I know
one.
he does.
Where's that one? He's got 3, I think. I think there is one more that he wants or doesn't have. It's just yeah, he's got the purple one of that guy. I know he does. I can't find it.
Yep.
now.
Yeah, that's the one that has the purple parallel, the 98 Mel Universe Platinum.
He's also got all of these sick. Well, we were talking about these last week.
Rip the Nick says, once Nat moves to Card Letter Showcase, I can delete Flickr.
I don't know if he's gonna do it. It's got too many cards. This one, I've always loved these ones.
Yeah, those are really beautiful cards. That's
That one's just not fair. I can't find the purple one. I know he has it though. Nice flicker. What a bum.
nice searchable,
This one.
bro.
Yeah. This is one's always my favorite
On the
autograph.
showcase, you would have been able to search for it.
I know. I'm just looking through, scrolling. Oh, I found it. I got lucky there.
Oh, there it is. So ridiculous. Unicorn cards.
Speechless. Yeah, you want to make Chris and I just shut up for a while, just start showing us stuff like that.
Yeah, but does he have this?
Oh my god, put that down.
Jesus
I
Christ,
didn't even
dude.
look over and I knew what you picked up. Oh my
You're
god.
fucking embarrassing us.
What is wrong with you?
You want to see another card I picked up recently?
You are an embarrassment.
What is that?
This is Josh Luber's StockX card.
Wow, look at that.
What would you like it if there was a product release
Nope.
that was like a full blown product, but it was hobby personalities?
Nope.
No. All right, fair enough.
It's my dream to have my own sports card.
I would like it as well. I would collect those. I would collect some of them.
I would burn some though too. Like voodoo doll style.
Why? Why?
Look at that serial number.
6, right?
Yep. I need this to match my penny. You think he'll sell it? What's his name? Focus.
All right. Joshua's Cards wants to know, why have galactic football cards failed to gain collectors' attention?
I don't know. I didn't even know they had galactic football cards.
So we're asking the wrong people here. I did know that there
I
was
was gonna bail you out.
there was a preview of Galactic in this year's Chronicles. So I know that. So maybe it's just because it hasn't received the full-fledged standalone product treatment.
That's probably why. Yeah, they don't have a real base of it, right? It's always some insert of something else, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I'm not super knowledgeable on this. I don't know. Maybe sometimes people ask questions and I think they know or they have an answer to the question. Give me the answer too. Just throw the answer in there too, and we can bat it around because we don't know everything about everything, fellas.
Go ask Mission Street Cards. He will definitely know the answer to that question.
Yes, he will. All right, Green Ice Sports 24. Oh, what a great question from Green Ice. It says, is green the most awesome color for a 1 of 1, or is it the weirdest?
Oh my god! If you show that fucking card again, I'm gonna puke.
Well,
It's weird. It's weird.
Even
Someone-
but it applies to PMGs as well. Even though the grains aren't one of ones, but still the most rare parallel in the issue is green.
I saw some
Josh,
I saw some content creator.
yeah, go ahead.
I saw some content creator talking about kabooms, and they were like, "Kabooms are great, but they don't have a 101. So like, what am I doing?" And I was like, "What? They definitely have a 101. You're just sitting here making shit up."
Go ahead, Christina.
One, are you surprised that content creators don't know what they're talking about and make shit up? Because there are some out there that are fucking ridiculous. And then two, green is actually my favorite color. You know,
But it was orange.
no, that's not my favorite color. Nice.
Your car is orange.
That's true. But that's also Chris's car now. But
Yeah, that's right.
Nebula is the best color of one.
Is that a color? If I went and bought a box of crayons, I'd see Nebula.
Yep.
Okay. So rank these in terms of which makes for the best color for the 1 of 1. I love how we've turned into 1 of 1 connoisseurs. My master plan is working.
Yeah.
So
Stupid.
Nebula, black finite, gold vinyl, green.
Black Shimmer.
Nope, I didn't even include black shimmer.
Yeah, I'm telling you to include Black Shimmer.
There's a Jokic black shimmer on eBay. That's an auction that
Oh
ends
my
soon.
God, Christopher.
And I have my
Oh, come on, you idiot.
Have we learned nothing?
Maybe this will discourage me from betting on it.
Jacob is gonna watch this tomorrow, and he's gonna be swearing you up and down.
Okay, here it is. What do we think? Buy,
God,
sell,
dude.
hold.
Sell, shimmer, no bueno.
But they're cool, man.
They look really nice in hand, Josh.
No, I know they do. Change topics before you get me in trouble.
This is not crazy. This is not crazy, but it still has 2 days to go. All right. Nobody bid on that. You pretend like you guys didn't see that.
Oh my God, you deserve what you get.
Cards and Candy 911 says, for guys with the jersey number 0, what should their jersey numbered card be?
Oh, I believe for the status cards, the like Kevin Love and Westbrook, I believe they made them 1 of 1s, if I'm not mistaken.
Interesting.
They shouldn't get to have them.
Oh, Kid has every Jokic and great guy. Who's Kid?
I think you're the kid.
I have 2 Jokic's. And honestly, I don't know if I want any more because I just don't enjoy watching him play. Isn't that a small problem to have?
And Nick Wright ranked him as like the 8th best player in the NBA the other day. I was like, I like Nick Wright, and I was like, you are fucking crazy.
Dude, he's doubling down on it. He's easing his way out of the take from last year.
He is. I mean, it's just like, come on, man. He had like Embiid ranked higher, and like, I mean, Embiid's having a good year, but just some of the guys he had ranked higher. What?
Oh yeah, Nuggets collector. Yeah, dude. He's got it all. He makes it impossible to super collect Jokic because he was first to the. He was first. He's got it all.
He's on here.
Yeah, he's in Showcase. All right. Gooch with this question again. Besides sports cards, are there any other things you collect?
I collect ankles.
Oh, because on the basketball court, you, yeah, okay. Wow, man, we need to get Josh back on the Trulies.
It's like way more awkward when I'm trying to be, silly without the drinks. It's bad.
Yeah, you're like me. that was like one of my lines.
I think the word for that is goob.
Goobin. This hour 3 has become the goob hour.
I don't collect anything else. Do you?
No. I never thought I would be a collector of anything. It was never really.
No, that's not true. We both collect books.
I wouldn't say I collect books. I read books and then I put them on a shelf.
But you could get rid of them. You could easily donate them to the library or something, but you choose to keep them then. Like,
That was funny.
like actively purchasing them for the purpose of holding on to them doesn't mean you're not, or maybe you're just a book hoarder, not a collector.
I thought you slammed that. She kept going. I was like, Chris nailed it already. I read them and then I put them on a shelf.
Yeah, like, come on. Let me have that W.
That was a good W.
Green Christina's salty now. Put a little salt in that.
You collect souls.
Yeah, I just took my first one. All right. Green Eye Sports 24.
I took my soul a long time ago, but
Soul crusher.
David, we can't be friends after that comment.
What did
Did he say something about NFTs? I was going to say how I'm going to say.
No, he did say something about NFTs earlier. He said next week I'm going to be flexing up Bored Ape.
What did you say now?
He said I'm like a weird cat person. He goes, I feel like Chris is a low key hoarder cats person.
No, actually, fun fact, David. Chris and I are both allergic to cats, so we can be cat people.
If I ever told you guys about how I feel like it may be a little bit inhumane to own animals?
Yes, you've told me
All
many
right.
times. Thank you. Move along.
I own an animal that's named after my favorite basketball player. Do you think I'm inhumane, Chris?
Well, did the animal give consent? That's the question.
I don't know. She can't answer my questions. I'm trying. Whoa, whoa. You know how people are like, "Oh, you hungry?" And I'm like, "The dog can't fucking talk, so please stop asking." Is someone hungry?
All right, I'm moving on to a new topic.
You might want to leave that one on the floor.
Green Eye Sports 24 says, Josh, what is your panic meter on the Lakers? And I'm going to answer this question too, even though it wasn't even directed to me.
My panic is mostly on this fucking plan. Because, like, there's a slight panic that they'll just, lose one game and be out because they're so stupid and they suck right now. But outside of that, like, I don't know, like a 5 out of 10. They still have Anthony Davis and LeBron, so I'm not, like, total panic yet, but it's not looking good. Their team kind of sucks.
Yeah. I don't know if somebody was saying it ironically or not, but somebody said that Malik Monk looks good. Is that true?
He does. No, he is. He's their third best player.
So
And he's like wildly inconsistent. Like he'll be like 2 for 12 one night with 6 points, and then the next night he'll have like 31.
I mean, that's awesome. I was like looking at his cards like very tepidly before the season began. And I didn't buy any of them, but like I was like, man, this guy was a lottery pick. He's super young. He's not even in his physical prime yet. And he's going to be playing around Hall of Famers. Like, if ever this guy was going to become something, it's going to be now.
Yeah, that doesn't work though. Playing around Hall of Famers never works for individual card value.
No. I mean like maybe he develops and he becomes like the best version of himself.
Just watching the games, he's their third best player. He's like, I mean, Westbrook's obviously like, historically a better player, but he's very athletic. He can get up and dunk and make really athletic moves, and he can shoot pretty well. He's probably like their best shooter, which is, that kind of tells you the story there.
Yeah, okay, so here's his stats. So his shooting splits are 47% from the field, 41% from three, and 79% from free throw. That's decent.
He's their best shooter.
13 points per game, 3 rebounds per game, 3 assists per game, and his PER is right at 15, which is normalized so that 15 is actually league average. So,
yeah, you can tell I'm not like super excited about him being their third best player. What am I going to say? Carmelo? Like, they stink. THT, Horton Tucker is like regressed in my opinion. They're not getting much from anyone else on their bench. None hasn't even played yet. They're not getting anything from Ariza or Ellington, or they're getting nothing from DeAndre Jordan, Dwight Howard. It's a mess.
That's unfortunate.
They just look poop. Like the Suns, all of the individual players in the Suns are like having above average seasons. They're all like getting the most out of everybody, and it's the opposite for the Lakers. Like no one is playing above their average.
That is frustrating. I'm looking at the standings right now, and like remember early in the year, there was like, man, there's real parity among the Eastern Conference and the Western
Wizards.
Conference. Yeah, the Wizards are like, but dude, there are now 3 teams in the West that have better records than the best team in the East. So
Yeah.
the West is starting to create some separation again, at least at the top level. Part of that's because like the Bulls and the Heat and the Cavs with Rubio have had some injury bad luck, and the 76ers haven't had their second best player and a max contract player.
Yeah.
I don't know what the Bucks excuse is. I guess some injury. I haven't watched any Bucks games this year. I guess there must be some injury luck going on there with Lopez and stuff. But like,
Yeah.
the West probably has the 3 best teams.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I'm not going to get overly excited about the Suns yet, just because of what happened to the Cardinals, and we don't know if last year was a fluke or not with the injuries and stuff. So I'll just kind of lay low on the Suns and just be optimistic. But they look very, very good. They lost to the Hawks last night, fucking Trae Young, but they look really good.
Nobody deserves that.
Dude, the Hawks made like 20 threes and the Suns made 8. Like that's the reason they lost. The Hawks are just making their shots. It happens.
I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, to lose to Trae Young.
He had 43, and he was doing it every freaking shot. Like, aren't you guys under 500? I don't think you're allowed to be doing that move yet. Like, the Suns are 41-10, and this dude's under 500, like doing this every shot. Ooh.
Yeah, so a couple buddies were hyping up the Hawks, and the Hawks are on a win streak, or like they're like 9-1 in their last 10 or something like that. And Lameme James pops in, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm loving it. All these guys were throwing shade at Trae," and I'm just like, "Wait a minute. The Hawks are a half a game out of missing the play-in. They're half a game out of being in 11th, and the teams that are behind them are the Wizards and the Knicks. Like those are decent teams. Like you guys don't count your chickens before they hatched. The Hawks are still garbage."
They lost to the Raptors tonight.
Oh, it just hurts my heart to hear that.
Well, the most damning thing for the Hawks is that nobody is talking about them this year. Like, nobody cares, and they're coming off Eastern Conference Finals.
Yes, they are.
Well, at the beginning of the season, Trae Young said that they were having problems motivating themselves. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
I think he was telling the truth, to be honest
that's
with you.
what I mean.
Because like now they have turned on, like they got into danger zone. They got into desperation mode, and now they're winning games and they're clawing their way back into the picture.
I know that like I shill for Chris Paul and I have his cards and stuff, and I love him. He just did an interview with JJ Redick, and it's a phenomenal interview. It's like an hour and a half interview with JJ Redick on his show, and they're in person, which makes it more fun. It's just really cool to hear like behind the scenes stuff and like honest takes from some of these guys, like these really high level guys. And he was talking about that a little bit, and he's like, what do I need to be motivated about? Like I'm literally playing a game for a living. Like I don't know what else, like how much better you could possibly have it in life, but I'm getting paid a lot of money to play my favorite game, and like that's all I do. I don't play video games on the side, or my friends play video games, and I'm literally just like watching tape of random games so I can learn more. And it's just fascinating to hear him talk about that. So when I hear an NBA player being like, "I'm having trouble getting motivated," it's literally your job to get paid to be motivated. Figure it out.
That makes me like Chris Paul more. I'm not gonna lie.
He's always been
Just watching
that. He's always been
fantastic.
He's super professional. He was the president of the Players Association. He's just like an all-around pro.
Yeah, like I don't really know, like I don't follow him or know much about him, like except that he's been bouncing around a lot, minus like now the last 2 years in Phoenix. But like to hear him be like,
what the fuck? I get paid to play a game for the living. Like, that just, it's like, who wants to hear us complain about work when we're getting to do everything that we love in the hobby and get paid for it? Like, and that's like that level of commitment and like realism. Like, Chris Paul realizes how lucky and fortunate he is, just makes me like him.
Hey,
Mr. New PC.
Hey, Christina, Andrew Kyle White says, this chick in the background has great takes, but I'm sorry for referring to her as the chick in the background.
There was another part of the interview where they were talking about how Chris Paul, like, he's like a manipulator, and he's like trying to like cheat the rules often, and like Redick was kind of giving him a hard time that, like, you know, he's always getting on the refs trying to get that little extra, you know, that little extra juice to win a game or whatever. And so they're talking about the rip through. I don't know if you watch Suns games, but Chris Paul gets at least one player every game on a rip through, and he gets 2 free throws. And he's like, and Redick uses that example. He's like, Chris, you always get that cheap like rip through call. You know, that's just like this little thing that you get. And he's like, JJ, it's not just for me. That's in the rule. If guys keep putting their arm out and it's in the scouting report that I do it, I have like an obligation to do that move because you guys can't read your scouting report and you keep letting me do it. So I gotta keep doing it. And it's just like stuff like that he's like thinking about actively messing with people, getting this little advantage. And it's always like a younger player. Like they played the Nets and Kessler Edwards did it 2 times in a row. Puts his elbow in, and Chris Paul's like, seriously, you gotta make it? I'm like, I gotta do it.
So
2 free throws. 4-0 run, like 2 back-to-back 2 free throws, and it's like, yeah.
So this to me means like this to me makes me excited when Chris Paul retires. Sorry, Josh, that he might become that commentator that we were talking about the NBA needing, that will break down what is actually happening and the rules on
like the
floor.
Tony Romo of the NBA announcing.
But
we need that so bad.
Yeah, like
please.
He will be the person who actually like gives us that information.
That would be terrific.
If I didn't sell you on Chris Paul before, I will now. This is last night. Is it? You can't watch.
Oh, I thought you were showing me him like clotheslining Trey. Oh, but he's mocking the flopping. Yeah, he's an intense competitor. That's CP3.
Yeah. But like he talked about also how, you know, Kobe Bryant did the same thing that he does, where like he toes the line of like competitive and like going right up against that line of being like, you know, a jerk, like a bad person and demanding too much out of people. And he's like, Kobe got away with it because he won championships and I don't have any. So, you know, I can't quite get away with it yet, but I'm hoping to be able to get away with it if I can win. And he was like very aware that he does it and he knows that he does it. And he's like, but, you know, he's like, it's helped me be successful. My teams win a lot of games, but I can't quite get away with it fully, you know?
Yeah, that's great. Did you know that the NBA came out with their own version of Red Zone?
What? No, they did?
It's called Crunch Time, I'm pretty sure.
No, that's cool. They did that.
There's a parallel in Don Russ, the cereal boxes.
Yes, it is. It's an insert as well.
Or I'm sorry, insert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but they came out. It's hosted by Jared Greenberg. I watched it for a little while on Tuesday night on the NBA app through League Pass, and it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. You know, it made me really appreciate Scott Hansen.
I was gonna say, Red Zone is more popular because of Scott Hansen than the format obviously is awesome, but Scott Hansen is what makes the show.
Yeah, and so Jared Greenberg, obviously he has a vision with this, and I think he can do it. But they don't have anybody in studio. It's just like they're cutting back and forth between games, and he's talking over top. We need a bump in the production budget, guys. I feel like come on, NBA. Come on. You have the idea. You know it's a winner. Yep, that's him, Jared Greenberg.
So can I ask? Because, like, the reason the red zone works is because football games are long, and it takes a while to get to the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
NBA is like a long game as well, but it not as long, and you're on offense every other like minute. So
Yeah.
So how does that
Plus,
work?
plus all the football games are going on at the same time. Basketball's kind of
More space.
Staggered.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes and no. Yes and no. Like weeknights, like there's a lot of games sitting on top of each other.
Yeah, but do they just like jump back and forth at random times, or is
Yeah,
it
pretty
like,
much. Yeah.
or is it like, oh, this quarter is ending and like let's tune in, or like, oh look, this game's a tie, so let's like pay attention to this part.
Yeah, hopefully they would use judgment like that. Like, let's go over to the close game.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think they'll get it, but they have to like take it, as seriously as the NFL takes its red zone channel.
basically like what you were talking about last week. The NBA just needs to man the fuck up and like
Yes.
go all out in marketing and do a better job.
Please do. Please do. Like, dude, okay. Marquee matchup Friday night. There was only one game on national TV on Friday night. It was the 76ers and the Mavericks. If the NFL had its one profile national TV game, they're going to be doing interviews of the two quarterbacks from each team. They're going to be talking to their dads. They're going to tell a little story. There's going to be 30 minutes to 60 minutes of build up. The announcers are going to sit and talk with the players. Like the NBA did nothing. They did nothing. They talked about, they showed Joel Embiid warming up and they gave his stats over the year. And then they showed Luka warming up and they showed his stats. And it's just like, this is not compelling TV, people. It's just not. All right,
Yeah.
but I'm off it.
The NBA keeps having this thing too. I don't know if it's this year or what, but like every time there's a game on, like 2 or 3 of the top guys aren't playing. Is that just me?
No.
But I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, why am I even watching this crap? And today I turned on the Hornets Cavs because like I have not seen a Cavs game yet, and I don't know how they're so good. I want to tune in. Garland wasn't playing, so I'm like, great. I don't even now I can't like see their best player. So what the heck?
Yep.
That's a huge problem.
Huge problem as well. Yes, it is. So, but I think the All-Star weekend should be awesome this year.
And like the Suns played like 3 games in a row where the other team was missing their entire starting lineup. It was like they played the Pacers and like literally their entire starting 5 didn't play, and then they played the Jazz 2 nights in a row, and they had no, like Mitchell and Gobert were out. It was like, come on, we can't even judge if the Suns are good.
Yeah, unless they lost. Then you could know. But you're supposed to beat the Jazz without their best players.
Or the Jazz with their best players.
Yeah, or that too. Can we say it? The Jazz suck? No, I'm just joking. No offense to the Spider Mitchell collectors out there.
The Ingles injury is going to be tough.
Yeah, it is. That guy's crucial. And he's out for the year, right? Sprained ACL, I think.
He's out for like a decent start of next year.
Damn.
Oh, the Mavs won.
Oh, did they?
Oh, your boy Luka had a monster game.
Did they win? I didn't even know that game was going on.
Yeah, Mr. Eyeballs over here. You're like, great answer. Yeah, fucker, I heard you, yeah. He was plus 19 too.
Well, that's a nice bounce back from being minus 17 in a loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder.
33, 13, 50. Well, yeah, what's up with that? They handle the Sixers, but then they lose to the Thunder.
And before that, they lost to the Magic. They were on a
That is
losing streak.
Is that your Jason Kidd theory?
Well, dude, I was listening to a Mavs podcast the other night, and finally somebody said it. They said it wouldn't be so bad if Jason Kidd would actually show a little emotion, get a technical, and maybe even get ejected from a game, because then their better coach, Sweeney, would have to step up and fill in for him, and they might actually have won the Oklahoma City Thunder game.
You want to get ejected just so you can win one game?
Yes. There's a master plan. How can we get rid of Jason Kidd? Motivate him to get technicals and get ejected.
That's like step 1 in a line of steps that leads to you just firing Jason Kidd.
Yeah, why don't you just fire Jason Kidd? He's fucking bugs. Imagine you get hired to do a job, you make the company worse, you go on a very long vacation or medical leave,
the company starts doing better, you come back, the company starts doing worse, and you don't get fired.
Man, that's not good for Kid. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Like Maxi Cleaver super collector on the call, and you watch a random game on national TV, or you guys are watching national TV, but he's not even playing.
I know.
What the heck?
Yeah, that's really unfortunate they didn't play, especially because they really needed him to help guard Embiid. But they were down 15 in the second quarter, too. It wasn't looking good. Yeah, and I will give Jason Kidd credit for somehow the Mavericks are a top 5 defense, but bottom 15 offense. So,
would you rather win games, Chris, or have a good offense?
Both. Because you need both.
No. Defense wins championships. I don't know where you're from, but like
I do have a T-shirt from basketball camp that says that. Defense.
Yeah, so you can't win if you don't score, but you can't lose if they don't score.
Oh man, that's quite the paradox. Would you rather them not score and you not score, or them score and you score?
What? We haven't used our quote in a long time. I don't even know if I could rattle it off right now.
I have not used our quote in a long time. Oh, but Christina is wearing. Can I show it? Yes, I can. Christina is actually wearing it.
I don't like sports cards for good investments. Oh yeah, there it is.
Why do you think we haven't had occasion to trot out that quote?
I don't know. I feel like the show has like shifted in the last like 6 months from prior. Maybe it's because like the market was going bananas and we were just focused on that. And we were focused on like trying to calm people down from, buying all the stupid crap and focusing on collecting. And now the cards that we've always been talking about are the ones getting all the shine. So we're just sort of shifting. I'm not sure. Have you sensed that?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good answer. But, this was the first time in a long time that there was like 2 or 3 questions that carried the subtext of basically being a collector complaining that prices are too high. And it's been a while since we had those type of questions coming in. So maybe, maybe Drake was onto something and we're in whatever part of the cycle that means it's going back up. I don't know.
What was the third one? The one that's flat?
Distribution.
Yeah. Distribution. We are Amazon, I guess.
All right. I think we've gone as far as this show will go.
I have to get up in 7 hours.
Yes, you do. Thanks for tuning in, guys. It's been another great episode. Thanks to Kevin Lenane and PSA for joining us as well. And we will see you guys next week.
Card Ladder, the best sports card app on the market. The future of sports cards is here. Card Ladder is the 21st century price guide and market analysis tool for sports cards. The best tools to help you track your cards. Watch the trends, stay informed, compare cards, and track the growth of your personal collection, all in one simple and intuitive platform. Join the innovators, not the imitators. The future is here. The future is now. Card Ladder.